So Councilmember Elefante, are we ready to rumble now? Okay, ready to go. But anyway, before we move towards the convening of our regular council meeting, it was brought to my attention that one of our fellow colleagues is celebrating a birthday. So we wanted to kind of get us all in the mood for a birthday, and that colleague is Councilmember Kimberly Pine. Happy birthday, and let's all sing happy birthday, all right? And we got the Royal Hawaiian Band to do it, to accompany us.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Kimberly. Gorgeous. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you so much, Chair. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.
Okay, congratulations again, and happy.
On Friday.
I'm sure you, in your mind, there's no better way to celebrate a birthday than to be at a council meeting, right?
Oh, yeah.
So for the testifiers, be nice now. If Councilmember Pine asks you questions, be very respectful of her. It's her birthday, all right? Don't give her a hard time. Okay, so at this time, good morning and welcome to all of you. Vice Chair Anderson, can you please lead the council in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, please be seated, and Vice Chair Anderson, would you do us the honors of introducing our special guest who will be delivering this morning's message of aloha.
Aloha, good morning. A native Hawaiian and lifelong resident of Nanakuli, a product of a hardworking, entrepreneurial-minded environment, Helen Y. is the self-made business owner and lead consultant of Helen NY LLC. Since 2001, Helen has worked with many organizations and individuals, from families and community leaders to Hawaiian homestead kupuna, to share her unique expertise in financial literacy, homebuyer education, and other real-life economic issues. Helen has received much recognition through the years from business associations and community leaders. In addition, Helen has received the State of Hawaii Commendation from Governor Neil Abercrombie, Certificate of Special Congressional Recognition from Congresswoman Colleen Hanabusa, U.S. House of Representatives Certificate of Recognition from Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, and the United States Senate Certificate of Commendation from U.S. Senator Brian Schatz. Helen has been involved with our community for many, many, many years, and we thank her for her various contributions to the West Side community and of the City and County of Honolulu community as a whole. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Helen Y.
Good morning, Chair and Council members, and mahalo Vice Chair Anderson for this opportunity to deliver the message of aloha. It is through the most difficult times that we see this spirit of aloha. With the recent devastation that occurred in Texas from Hurricane Harvey, we saw how everyone came together and kokua to help one another. For many of us, this is aloha. Aloha is indeed a way of life. This is not something we think about. This is something that we do. And we do it not for us, we do it for others. As a lifelong resident of Nanakuli, it brought great pride when I saw Hawaii News Now feature Joanne Birch, a former Nanakuli resident who shared her aloha spirit by making huli huli chicken, mac salad, poke, and beef stew for the Houston shelter. In fact, she even donated a few pair of slippers for them. This is aloha. Why is it that some need to wait for a difficult time to share the spirit of aloha? I encourage all of us here in this room to make a commitment to share our aloha, to someone every day. It may be as simple as a smile, opening the door, or just providing your time. Council members, thank you for your dedication and your aloha in servicing the people of the County of Honolulu. Mahalo.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your message of aloha. Really appreciate your taking the time. And, before I formally convene this morning's council meeting, I'd like to note that today marks the first time that we are holding our council meeting, our regular council meeting, here in Kapolei in 2017. I'm just hoping, and I want to assure you that this is not going to be the last time. I think we ought to have more council meetings out on this side of the island. For those of us who represent the rapidly growing West Oahu, who include council members Kimberly Fine, Brandon Elefante, and myself, we know that this is where the action is here on the west side. So in that regard, on behalf of all my colleagues, we just wanted to express our appreciation for the opportunity to be able to bring city government closer to the residents of West Oahu. And we welcome all of you to our second city here in Kapolei. All right, on that note, there are several reminders that I'd like to go over before I officially bang the gavel. There's a 3-minute limit for testimony on public hearing, new business, and sunshine items. A 1-minute limit on all other items. And for our testifiers, please state your name and whether you support or oppose the item. Written testimony, including the testifier's address, email address, and phone number, may be posted in the city's docket share. And no one shall read someone else's statement. And as a courtesy to all of those in attendance, please silence or turn off all of your cell phones. Now, for your information, the following items were not listed on the agenda for consideration. On page 18, Resolution 17-226, CD1, proposed FD1, requesting that the city administration update the Ayat Town Center Master Plan. On page 23, Resolution 16-247, CD1, proposed FD1, approving the Downtown Neighborhood Transit-Oriented Development Plan. And reference copies are available at the registration table. Okay, I'd now like to call this morning's meeting to order. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Anderson.
Here.
Councilmember Elefante.
Here.
Councilmember Fukunaga.
Present.
Councilmember Kobayashi.
Here.
Councilmember Manahan.
Present.
Councilmember Ozawa. Councilmember Pine.
Present.
Councilmember Martin. Chairman Orr.
Here.
Mr. Chair, there are 8 members present, 1 member is absent.
Okay, thank you very much. Councilmember Pine, any guests to be introduced?
We do have one guest, Chair. As you know, the tragedy in Houston and other parts of the nation is reminding us that we need to get ready for possible emergencies. And representing the Eva Beach emergency preparedness team is Rodney Boucher.
All right.
He's somewhere in the back there. And he and his team is here to remind us that this Saturday, one of the largest Get Ready preparedness fairs is from 9 to 1 at Eva Mackay Middle School. And of course, everyone on the whole island is invited.
Thank you. We also thank Rodney for providing all of us with these bags, which we can use to stock with emergency items, right? In the event to be better prepared for an emergency. So appreciate all of your work that you're doing out here in getting our residents prepared for potential disasters and emergencies in the future. Okay, Vice Chair Anderson for the minutes. Motion to approve the minutes.
I move for the approval of minutes of the 10th session.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Are there any testifiers who'd like to offer comments regarding the minutes that we are now considering? Okay, we don't have any testifiers. Any discussion regarding the minutes? Are there any objections to the minutes as posted? Noting no objections, are there any reservations? Noting no reservations, the minutes have been approved. We proceed now to page 3, of the order of business, of the order of the day. First, we have public hearing resolutions. Okay, and these have to be, we'll receive testimony in these resolutions now and then refer them to the appropriate committee. Starting with Resolution 17-206. This relates to the appointment of Dr. Timothy R. Slaughter to serve on the Commission on Culture and the Arts of the City and County of Honolulu. Are there any testifiers who would like to come forward in regards to this particular resolution? Okay, we don't have any speakers, any discussion regarding this resolution. This resolution will be referred to the Committee on Parks, Community, and Customer Services. The next resolution is Resolution 17-207, which relates to the appointment of Randall C. Watoff to serve on the Board of Review 2 for real property tax appeals of the City and County of Honolulu. Okay, do we have any speakers who'd like to offer testimony or comments on this resolution? Okay, since I don't see any testifiers coming forward, we're in discussion. Any discussion regarding this resolution? Since we don't have any discussion, this resolution is being referred to the Committee on Budget. Let's proceed now to page 4 of the order of business, starting with Resolution 17-222, relating to the reappointment of Ethel L. Fleming to serve on the Civil Service Commission of the city. Do we have any speakers who'd like to offer comments? We don't have any speakers. Any discussion, members? There being none, this resolution is being referred to the Committee on Executive Matters and Legal Affairs. Resolution 17-223 relates to the reappointment of Mr. Michael Ellis to serve on the Board of Review 1 for real property tax appeals of the city. Any testifiers on this resolution? I don't see any speakers coming forward. Any discussion? Okay, this resolution is being referred to the Committee on Budget. Resolution 17-224. This relates to the reappointment of Mr. Jacinto Legal to serve on the Board of Review 3 for real property tax appeals of the city. Okay, any testifiers who'd like to come forward to offer comments, remarks on this resolution? We don't have any speakers coming forward. I don't see any discussion, so this resolution will be referred to the Committee on Budget. Let's proceed now to the order of business on page 5. Additional resolutions for our consideration. Resolution 17-226 relates to the reappointment of Mr. Donald Lau to serve on the city's Board of Review 2 for real property tax appeals. Okay, any testifiers on this resolution? Okay, we don't have any testifiers. Discussion, members? We have no discussion. Resolution 17-225 is being referred to the Committee on Budget. Resolution 17-231 relates to the reappointment of Ms. Tina Au to serve in the city's Board of Review 1 for real property tax appeals. Speakers, anybody would like to come forward? Okay, we don't have any speakers. Any discussion? Okay, this resolution is being referred to the Committee on Budget. Okay, Resolution 17-232, testifiers on this resolution. It relates to the reappointment of Janine Suki to serve on the city's Board of Review 2 for real property tax appeals. Okay, any speakers, testifiers on this resolution? Seeing none, do we have any discussion from the members? No discussion, so this resolution is likewise being referred to the Committee on Budget. We proceed now to page 6 of the order of business, Resolution 17-233, which relates to the appointment of Raynard C. Soon to serve on the Board of Water Supply. Do we have any testifiers? Okay, Mr. Soon.
I just wanted to be sure to be available for any questions you may have. I take seriously your process of confirmation. I appreciate the consideration. Okay, I'm available.
We'll reserve our tough questions for you in committee. So.
Okay, thank you.
Be prepared. All right, any other testifiers on Resolution 17-233? Okay, we don't have any additional testifiers. Any discussion, members, on this resolution? So we don't have any discussion. This resolution is being referred to the Committee on Public Works, Infrastructure, and Sustainability. Resolution 17-234 relates to the appointment of Christopher A. Dacus to serve on the city's Board of Parks and Recreation. Testifier.
Thank you. I just want to say it's I've had 13 years of improving public right-of-ways in this state and on this island specifically. I'm looking forward to helping out the park board some of that.
Okay.
So if you have any questions.
Okay, questions, members? Okay, we look forward to considering your nomination in the appropriate committee. Do we have any? Thank you. Do you have any other testifiers? on Resolution 17-234. Okay, any discussion, members? This resolution is being referred to the Committee on Parks, Community, and Customer Services. Okay, let's proceed now to page 7 for consideration of additional resolutions. Resolution 17-191 relates to the reappointment of Pamela K. Tong to serve on the Commission on Culture and the Arts of the city. Do we have any testifiers? Oh, for the appropriate motion, excuse me, Councilmember Kobayashi.
Thank you, Chair. I move that Committee Report 315 and Resolution 17-191 be adopted.
Okay, Chair Emeritus Martin for the second. Okay, Councilmember Kobayashi for the explanation.
Relating to the reappointment of Pamela K. Tong to serve on the Commission on Culture and the Arts.
Okay, and the resolution we are considering on this page are up for adoption. Okay, resolutions up for adoption. Do we have any testifiers on Resolution 17-191?
I would like to thank each and every one of you for reappointment, and it has been a joy and certainly my privilege to serve on the commission for the past 5 years, and I have told them that I would be willing to serve as long as they needed me. So I thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, colleagues? Okay, thank you very much. Do we have any other testifiers who would like to offer comments regarding Resolution 17-191 with respect to this particular nominee? Okay, since we don't have any additional testifiers, any discussion, members, regarding this particular resolution? Okay, since we don't have any discussion, are there any objections? Noting no objections, are there any reservations? Noting no reservations, Committee Report 315 and Resolution 17-191 have been adopted. Join me in recognizing and congratulating Ms. Tong. And thank you for your willingness to serve. Let's proceed to the next resolution from the Committee on Budget. Councilmember Manahan.
Thank you, Chair. I move that Committee Report 324 and Resolution 17-190 be adopted.
Second the motion.
Moved and seconded for the explanation.
Thank you, Chair. This is relating to the reappointment of Edward M. Joseph to serve on the Board of Review 3 for real property tax appeals of the City and County of Honolulu. Okay, thank you. Do you have any testifiers who would like to offer comments or testimony regarding Resolution 17-190? Okay. Since I don't see any speakers coming forward, we're now in discussion. Any discussion, members? Okay. There being no discussion, are there any objections to this resolution? If there are no objections, are there any reservations? Noting no reservations, Committee Report 324 and Resolution 17-190 have been adopted. Let's recognize and congratulate Mr. Joseph. Is he here? Whether he's here, oh, thank you. And also to you, mahalo, for your willingness to step forward to serve in this capacity. Okay, let's proceed now to page 8. Okay, items that are up for second reading. Starting with the Committee on Public Health, Safety and Welfare. Councilmember Elefante.
Thank you, Chairman Orr. I move that Committee Report 308 be adopted and Bill 70 pass second reading.
Councilmember Pine.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Please explain the measure, Councilmember Elefante.
This is related to smoking.
Okay, we do have a number of registered testifiers, and I will call them in order, starting with Scott Stensrud.
Good morning. My name is Scott Stensrud, and I'm a longtime youth volunteer on the Leeward Coast. Most of my free time is spent working with kids out on this side, and I am in strong support of this bill. These kids cannot speak for themselves, so I am here to speak on their behalf and say how concerning it is to me as somebody that works with youth to smell third-hand smoke coming off of them, realizing that they have no ability, no choice in that decision. And hopefully passing this bill will be a reminder to parents and cause a few more of these folks to take the right step and not be smoking or vaping and subjecting these children to this situation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions
from the members? Okay, thank you very much. Michael Zenner. Okay, Michael Zenner. Okay, is not here. We have his testimony, Jalen Murakami.
Hi, good morning, Chairman or Vice Chair Anderson and members of Honolulu City Council. My name is Jalen Murakami. I'm here on behalf of Coalition for a Tobacco-Free Hawaii, which is a program of Hawaii Public Health Institute. And I appreciate the opportunity to testify in strong support for Bill 70. So this bill would protect children from secondhand smoke in cars, expanding our current protections that laws provide us, such as our smoke-free workplace law at parks, beaches, and bus stops. Smoke-free cars are similar to other current public safety laws, such as seat belts and using cell phones while driving or in crosswalks. So as Councilmember Martin and Anderson said in the committee, the passage of these types of laws are really important to help all families or protect all families from secondhand smoke. So thank you on behalf of the coalition and our youth council.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the testifier? Okay. That completes our list of registered speakers. Are there any other individuals in the audience who'd like to come forward? Okay, please come forward.
Good morning, Councilmember Minor and everyone else. I oppose this for the simple reason that the children have no ability to build up a resistance to foreign matter in their lungs. When they were doing this, the secondhand smoke, the crisis was greatly increased. The year after they passed the law, there was a 70% increase in asthma cases and almost a 90% decrease in secondhand smoke incidents. The medical profession was reporting all asthma attacks as secondhand smoke. Now, a lot of smokers were ex-smokers that when they stop smoking, the VOG tears them up. But when they were smoking, the VOG did not affect them. Thank you.
Okay, any questions from the members? Okay, thank you very much. Next testifier.
Good morning, I'm Lila Johnson from the Hawaii State Department of Health. I'm afraid our testimony may have arrived late. I'm speaking on behalf of Director of Health Virginia Pressler, so Council Member Chair, Council Minor, Vice Chair Anderson, and Council members. The Department of Health fully supports Bill number 70 as a health and safety issue. Minors, especially infants and young children, are among the most vulnerable and least able to avoid secondhand smoke. When someone in a car smokes or vapes, the keiki inhale the toxic chemicals, as well as nicotine, which is the addictive and potent stimulant, as well as a poison. Children breathe faster and have smaller lung capacity, so they take in more toxins in each breath than they're comparable to adults. Children are actually growing and developing actively, and secondhand smoke damages children's developing lungs and immune system. Child Passenger Safety Week occurs in September, and it provides an opportunity for Hawaii residents to take an additional step to protect our keiki and other loved ones by designating motor vehicle smoke-free zones. Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, questions, members? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, any other testifiers on Bill 70? Okay, if not, we're in discussion. Councilmember Belafonte.
Thank you, Chairman Nora. Along with you in co-introducing this measure, in support of this measure, I feel that this is a good bill to ensure clean air in vehicles, especially when keiki are present. There are other neighbor island counties that already have laws in place with respect to prohibiting adults from smoking in their vehicles when a minor is present. And I just ask my colleagues to join me in support in passing this out for second reading, and I feel that this is really a good public policy measure in addition to the prohibits that we have in different parks as well as bus stops, and to make Honolulu a more cleaner and safer city. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? Further discussion? Okay, since we don't have any additional discussion, let's take the vote. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Anderson.
Aye.
Councilmember Elefante.
Aye.
Councilmember Fukunaga. Councilmember Kobayashi. Councilmember Manahan. Councilmember Martin. Councilmember Azar is excused. Councilmember Pine.
Present? Aye.
Chairman Orr.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 8 ayes, 1 member is absent.
Okay, thank you. Committee Report 308 has been adopted, and Bill 70 has passed second reading. Okay, for the next measure, from the Committee on Public Works, Infrastructure, and Sustainability, Councilmember Fukunaga.
Thank you. I move that Committee Report 328 be adopted and Bill 72, CD1, pass second reading as amended.
Second motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Councilmember Fukunaga, please explain.
This bill relates to city-owned streams and addresses camping along those streams or portions thereof.
Okay, thank you for that description. Do we have any testifiers who'd like to come forward to offer comments on Bill 72, CD1? Bill 72, CD1. Okay, I don't see any testifiers, so we can now enter into, undertake a discussion.
Chair. HPD officer raised his hand.
Yes, okay, please come. I didn't see you. Please come forward.
Good morning, Chairman Orr, Vice Chair Anderson, and council members. My name is Crizalmo Carang. I'm the Major of the Honolulu Police Department's Kalihi District. HPD supports the intent of Bill 72 CD1. However, we have a small reservation that depending on the topography, the slope of the terrain, and the water quality, we might be limited in our enforcement ability. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions from the members? Okay, there being none, thank you very much. Any other testifiers on Bill 72 CD1? Bill 72 CD1, okay. So I don't see any additional speakers coming forward. We can now undertake a discussion. Any discussion, members, regarding this particular measure? Since we don't have any discussion, roll call vote, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Anderson.
Aye.
Councilmember Elefante.
Aye, with reservations.
Councilmember Fukunaga.
Aye.
Councilmember Kobayashi.
Aye.
Councilmember Manahan.
Aye.
Councilmember Martin.
Yes.
Councilmember Zhao is excused. Councilmember Pine.
Aye.
Chairman Orr.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 8 ayes, 1 member is absent.
Okay, so Committee Report 328 has been adopted, and Bill 72 CD1 has passed second reading. Let's proceed now to page 9 of the order of business from the Committee on Zoning and Housing. Councilmember Pine.
Thank you, Chair. I move that Committee Report 333 be adopted and Bill 43, 2016 pass second reading.
Second motion.
Okay, moving to second. Councilmember Pine for the explanation.
This relates to the plumbing code.
Okay, do we have any individuals in the audience who'd like to come forward to offer testimony on Bill 43? Bill 43, any testifiers? Okay, since we don't have any testifiers, we can now enter into a discussion on this measure. Any discussion, members? Councilmember Elefante.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll be voting with reservations on this measure. There are some concerns that were noted by Corporation Counsel. I share some of those concerns and look forward to further discussion on this measure. So I'll be voting yes, however, with reservations. Thank you.
Okay, your reservations are noted. Any other comments regarding Bill 43? Okay, since we don't have any further discussion, let's take the vote. Are there any objections to Bill 43? Noting no objections, are there any reservations? There are, except one reservation from Councilman Elefante. With noting that reservation, Committee Report 333 has been adopted and Bill 43 has passed second reading. Okay, let's proceed now to page 10 of the order of business. We will now be taking up third reading items. Okay, for the first measure on page 10 from the Committee on Zoning and Housing, Councilmember Pine.
Thank you. I move that Committee Report 334 be adopted and Bill 62 CD2 pass third reading as amended.
Councilmember Manahan.
Second the motion.
Okay, Moved and seconded, and I believe we have a further motion, a motion to amend. Councilmember Manahan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to move to further amend Bill 62 CD2 to the proposed FD1.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second?
Moved and seconded for the explanation of your proposed amendment.
Yes, thank you, Chair. The amendment seeks to narrow the scope of the bill to the Waikiki Special District area as well as the Ala Moana Special District in terms of the transit-oriented development.
Okay, thank you very much. So we do have one registered speaker on my list. Do we have a Daniel Nair who'd like to come forward?
Good morning, members of the council again. My name's Daniel Nair, and a lot of these programs and things are being put out have conflicting interest in them and conflicting statements. And I think they should be well looked at and read. Thank you.
Okay, any questions for the testifier? Okay, thank you very much. Do we have any other testifiers who'd like to come forward to offer comments on Bill 62, CD2, FD, proposed FD1? Okay, since we don't have any additional speakers, we're now in discussion. Any discussion, members, regarding the proposed FD1?
Chair, if I may.
Yes.
I'd just like to further explain the amendment and the reason for it. Basically, I offered the amendment to narrow the scope just within the transit-oriented development areas. I felt that the Bill 62, the way we moved it out was a little bit too broad, and that it might affect some of the more established neighborhoods along transit-oriented development areas. But in keeping with the intent of the introducer, we limited basically the scope of the bill, again, to the Waikiki Special District as well as the Ala Moana Special District for transit-oriented development. And I think it keeps with the intent of the introducer as well as the proponents of the measure. And I did work with the chair of the Zoning and Housing Committee to get the amendments in. So I want to thank her for that as well.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion on the proposed FD1? Okay. So, we will now take a vote. If we don't have any further discussion, we'll now take a vote on the proposed FD1. Are there any objections to amend the measure as described by Councilmember Manahan? If there noting no objections, are there any reservations? Noting no reservations, Bill 62, CD2 has been amended to an FD1. Now, do we have any further discussion regarding the measure that's before us that we're taking up for third reading vote? Okay, since we don't have any further discussion, roll call vote, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Anderson.
Aye.
Councilmember Elefante.
Aye.
Councilmember Fukunaga.
Aye.
Councilmember Kobayashi.
Aye.
Councilmember Manahan.
Aye.
Councilmember Martin. Councilmember Ozawa, Councilmember Pine.
Aye.
Chairman Orr.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 7 ayes, 2 members are absent.
Okay, Committee Report 334 has been adopted, and Bill 62, CD2 FD1 has passed third reading. Okay, we move on to the next item on the agenda for third reading. Councilmember Anderson.
I move that Committee Report 339 be adopted and Bill 3 pass third reading.
Second?
Okay, moved and seconded. For the explanation, Vice Chair.
Bill 3 relates to the building code.
Okay, do we have any testifiers on Bill 3? Okay.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, members. Shannon Olivado on behalf of the General Contractors Association. In opposition to this bill, as recorded in the prior committee meetings, we'd like to thank the Chair of the Transportation and Planning Committee for considering our opposition to the bill, but we realize that this is a bill that may move forward today. But I'd just like to focus on some of the unintended consequences that this bill may bring and potentially revisit if this does pass today with regard to some of the unintended consequences that we see. First being public safety. With regard to this bill, we feel as though the public may be at risk because of the viewing panels drawing them into a construction site. As testified before the committee, the HPD was in opposition because of potential thefts that may increase due to the viewing panels and the public being almost drawn into these construction sites. Potential theft, as we talked about, and I think the lack of enforcement. The question remains whether or not, if a viewing panel is blocked by a construction project, whether or not who will be enforcing removal of that obstruction with regard to the viewing panel. And also, proponents argue that access by the enforcement agencies will be less hindered by this bill, and we argue that it will actually not, because these enforcement agencies, whether it be DCCA, Department of Labor, would have ready access to the site upon making the request. So with all due respect, we oppose this bill, and we look forward to working further on this if it does pass. Thanks.
Okay, any questions for the testifier? Okay, next testifier.
Aloha, Council members. I'm Tyler Dosadas-Tam. I'm the Executive Director of the Hawaii Construction Alliance, which represents the state's 15,000 unionized carpenters, laborers, cement masons, bricklayers, and operating engineers in strong support of Bill 3. I want to thank the council member that introduced the bill and for his hard work on this. It's been a long process that started back in November of 2015 when a number of issues and discrepancies were discovered on a major mall construction site in the heart of Honolulu. And that got us to thinking of what we can do to increase enforcement of our construction safety laws, making sure that all sites are being worked on safely. And over the course of, from when this bill was introduced in the beginning of 2016 to now, I think we've had a very thorough discussion of this. You know, this is patterned after something that was passed in New York and has been practiced there for a very long time and has been very successful and not introduced many of the problems that have been raised as concerns. If there do end up being problems, we're happy to work on those, but we think that on the balance, this is going to be a very positive thing for not only the construction industry, but for transparency and accountability as well. Thank you.
Okay, any questions, members? Okay, do we have any other testifiers on Bill 3? Okay, since we don't have any additional testifiers, we're now in discussion. Any discussion, members? Councilmember Elefante.
Thank you, Chairman Noor. I know that I filed Council Communication 138. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion from the members? Okay, since, yes, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Just briefly, as was noted, the Committee on Transportation and Planning is in accord with Bill 3. We passed this legislation out of committee recently. After placing the bill on hold for many months, I will note that this bill was introduced at the beginning of calendar year 2016, Chairman. So we have had quite some time to discuss and consider this legislation and also give all stakeholders more than ample opportunity to work out their differences. That said, Chairman, I believe that time has since expired. We did have a lengthy discussion in committee, which included discussion with the Honolulu Police Department, where it was agreed by the HPD representative and the committee that, in fact, viewing panels on the construction site walls would actually help to prevent rather than enhance opportunities for thefts to occur. As such, Chair, I would like to ask my colleagues' support in moving this legislation forward on third reading to the Mayor's desk for his approval. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any further comments or further discussion regarding Bill 3? Since we don't have any further discussion, roll call vote, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Anderson.
Aye.
Councilmember Elefante.
Aye.
Councilmember Fukunaga.
Aye.
Councilmember Kobayashi.
Aye.
Councilmember Manahan.
Aye.
Councilmember Martin.
Yes.
Councilmember Lozada is excused. Councilmember Pine.
Aye.
Chairman Orr.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 8 ayes, 1 member is absent.
Okay, so Committee Report 339 has been adopted, and Bill 3 has passed third reading. Let's move on to page 11 of the order of business. Additional third reading items on the agenda. So once again, from the Committee on Transportation and Planning, Vice Chair Anderson.
I move that Committee Report 340 be adopted and Bill 67 CD1 pass third reading.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Vice Chair for the explanation.
Bill 67 relates to curb ramps.
Okay, we do have one registered speaker, Rose Poe.
Hello, I'm Rose Poe. I live on Kapahulu. They just resurfaced our street and they took out a crosswalk, but they left the wheelchair ramp in. I'm blind. I'll go down that thing not knowing the crosswalk is out. They have 3 of them I know of on that street, the wheelchair ramps, and they don't take them out. For the wheelchair ramps, the ones that they're putting in, there's no lift, so I don't know when I'm going out in the street. So they need to fix that. Thank you.
Okay, any questions for the testifier? Okay, there being none, do we have any other speakers who'd like to come forward on Bill 67, CD1? Okay, since we don't have any additional testifiers, we can now enter into discussion. Any discussion, members, regarding this particular measure? Okay, since we don't have any discussion, let's call the vote. Roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Anderson.
Aye.
Councilmember Elefante.
Aye.
Councilmember Fukunaga.
Aye.
Councilmember Kobayashi.
Aye.
Councilmember Manahan.
Aye.
Councilmember Martin.
Yes.
Councilmember Lozada is excused. Councilmember Pine.
Aye.
Chairman Orr.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 8 ayes, 1 member is absent.
Okay, so Bill 67, CD1 has passed third reading. For the next third reading item that is on the agenda, Councilmember Anderson, Vice Chair Anderson.
I move that Committee Report 341 be adopted and Bill 68 CD2 pass third reading as amended.
Second?
Okay, moved and seconded for the explanation.
Bill 68 relates to special transit service.
Okay, so we have 2 registered speakers, starting with Barbara Armentrout.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair. I'm Barbara Armentrout. I am a member of the REG Commission, but I'm speaking as an individual. I am in support of the special transit service. The only thing that I see wrong on this is I think that there should be something for people that are low income under the poverty level, because if and when we raise the handy van, a lot of people are under the poverty level, and your constituents in your district are the ones that will be hurting unless there is something for these specific people. And I've researched, there's a lot of cities across the U.S. that have special fare for people under the poverty level. Also, I believe updated needs to be section 13-21 of the city ordinance for people under low income that get $10 off a monthly bus pass. Well, when you ride the handy van, they give you a handy van pass, and if you want a yearly bus pass, you pay $30 and you get the discount. It's on the same card. But this special for low income says it's $10 off a monthly pass. You can't get a monthly pass on this handy van card. It has to be the yearly. And so, and also one of the things that I like in this bill is section 13-4.5 fare C under number 2, where the department may negotiate with a qualified human service organization and charge a fare higher than the single fare for agency fares and agency trips, provided that the fare charged cannot exceed the applicable rules by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid for paratransit services. That's the way it should be. They get reimbursed by the federal government, and they should be paying a higher fare than the individual residents of Honolulu. Thank you.
Okay, any questions, members? Okay, Rose Poe.
I'm Rose Poe. I'm in support of this bill, but I agree with Barbara that the poverty people should get discounts on it. Thank you.
Okay, any questions for Rose? Okay, do we have any other testifiers? Okay.
Good morning, members of council. My name's Dan Nair, and I would suggest the handy van think about having area transits. If you have a set of handy vans in Waianae, then they can do all of the runs in Waianae and not have to come from Middle Street out. And so it would save, it would be a faster service, and it would be cheaper because you don't have that transportation time of the van. Or you can almost have it coordinated like a bus schedule, where the handy van runs approximate routes at these times in these neighborhoods. So that is just something to consider. Thank you.
Okay, any questions? Okay, do we have any other speakers who'd like to offer comments? Okay, since we don't have any additional testifiers on this measure, we can now go into discussion. Any discussion, members, regarding Bill 68 CD2? So if we don't have any discussion, okay, roll call vote, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Anderson.
Aye.
Councilmember Elefante.
Aye.
Councilmember Fukunaga.
Aye.
Councilmember Kobayashi.
Aye.
Councilmember Manahan.
Aye.
Councilmember Martin.
Yes.
Councilmember Lozada is excused. Councilmember Pine.
Aye.
Chairman Orr.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 8 ayes, 1 member is absent.
Okay, so Committee Report 341 has been adopted and Bill 68 CD2 has passed third reading. I'd like to call a very brief recess at this time. Okay, subject to the call of the chair. I'd like to reconvene this council meeting. So we proceed to page 12, which is Bill 45 CD1. If there are no objections, the chair would like to move this bill to the latter part of the calendar because of the fact that certain city officials have made a request about wanting to offer testimony in this very important measure, and they will not be here until maybe within the next half an hour, between a half an hour to an hour. So my intention is to defer this to a latter part of the agenda, but to try to take this measure up before we go into recess at 12:30. So I'll be very mindful of the time here as we proceed with this morning's regular council meeting. So if there are no objections, I just want to move this to the latter part of the calendar and take this up prior to our recess at 12:30. Okay? All right, so let's proceed to page 13. We will now be taking up first reading items. So with respect to the measures on page 13, I would ask the Vice Chair if you could make a blanket motion with respect to all of the items that are listed and that are up for first reading on page 13.
I move that the bills listed on page 13 of the agenda pass first reading.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Vice Chair for the explanation.
Bill 71 relates to environmental health. Bill 74 relates to emergency management. And Bill 75 adopts the revised Central Oahu Sustainable Communities Plan.
Okay, so we do have a number of testifiers who wanted to offer testimony with respect to these measures. For those of you who want to testify, please line up to the left side, to the left of me, along the wall, so we can facilitate and expedite the testimonies that will be provided. The first item that's on the agenda is Bill 71. Bill 71, all right? And we do have a number of registered testifiers. Again, if anybody wishes to testify, please line up to the left of me along the wall, all right? So we have first registered testifier, Suzanne Frazier, Dean Otsuki, Robert Klein, Jennifer Milholland, Victor Lim, Lauren Zerbel. Okay, that completes our list of registered speakers. Is there anyone who wishes to offer testimony on Bill 71 or any of the measures? Yes.
Oh, okay.
If you want to testify, that's, yeah, right.
Oh, yeah, hi.
I don't know if you just saw other people testify.
Oh,
That's where you
okay.
need to be if you want to testify.
No problem, thanks. Thank you, Chairman, and hello, council members. I'm Robert Klein. I work for Hawaii Finest Products, a sister company to K Yamada Distributors. We are a Kalihi company that manufactures polystyrene, and we provide about 90 jobs in the Kalihi area for local people. And we distribute foam food service and compostable containers, as well as other packaging materials throughout the state. We strongly oppose the proposed measure that calls for a ban on expanded polystyrene food products. It perpetuates misinformation about the safety of food-grade expanded polystyrene containers and unnecessarily places at risk 90 jobs in Kalihi. Food-grade polystyrene containers are not to be confused with styrofoam. Styrofoam is a Dow chemical product used in docks and buoys and bumpers, and that's how it gets into the environment in big quantities, into the ocean. It's not through food containers. Food containers, we're along with the Restaurant Association in proposing the Malama 808 factors to try to control the debris in that gets loose, litter in that. Because as far as on Oahu, we have a state-of-the-art facility for dealing with any kind of products that and making sure they don't get into the environment. So we just need to control that last bit that gets in through carelessness and that. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the testifier?
Yes.
Yes, Councilmember Pine.
Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for coming today. You know, I hope to write this bill, and you said that the bill that I wrote promotes misinformation. Can you help me to understand what you mean by that?
Well, polystyrene and styrofoam are two different things. Okay, polystyrene is for food containers, and they've never made them out of styrofoam. Styrofoam breaks up into little pieces. It does all the bad things that are publicized about what styrofoam does, and it does that. But we don't use those for the polystyrene food containers. And we have all kinds of studies and things. I think we proposed or had some packets and things, or we can get you some, that show different medical studies and things that the polystyrene's not a problem. Actually, if you had a foam cup and you had a stick of cinnamon, you'd have much more styrene in the stick of cinnamon than you would in the polystyrene cup. So we're constantly exposed to it, and there's stuff in the air that comes out through car exhaust and that. We're not getting it from the containers and the food that we eat it in.
I thank you so much, and of course I supported your folks' argument many years ago, and that's why it didn't pass the last time. But I think for me, as someone who just recently changed my mind about this issue, it'll be very helpful. I read through all of the packet you gave. But the studies that you gave to council members were studies that were founded by the industries that actually make this product that we're trying to ban. So I think it'll be very helpful if we want to have an open and honest discussion. If you can bring forth studies by people from the medical field that agree with the proposed studies that was funded by the actual chemical industry, because then it'll be more convincing, I think, if that's the area that you want to debate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you know one thing though, a lot of these compostable containers are coming from China and there's not even FDA ratings on them and that. At least with the polystyrene, you're getting an FDA rating on them for being food safe and
Well,
that.
we can talk about that. I'm just saying, you know, as we go forward, I'd appreciate if you not continue to give the studies that are funded by the chemical industry. It's really important for us to be open-minded, to see a more non-biased a doctor or medical facility give us studies in terms of their opinion of whether this is hurting the environment or our health or not.
Okay.
Just a suggestion as we move forward.
Okay.
Because that was what changed my mind, and I know I was very supportive of you the last time, is when I started to read non-biased studies from doctors.
Okay.
Okay?
All
Thank
right.
you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Any further questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Council.
All right, do you have any other testifiers on Bill 71? Okay, let's proceed to Bill 74. Do we have any testifiers on Bill 74? Okay, with respect to Bill 75, we do have several registered speakers. Larry Meacham, offer testimony. Okay. Learmont.
Sorry, I handed in my testimony late today. My name is Leigh Learmont. I am a resident of Wahiawa. I am a member of the Wahiawa Whitmore Village Neighborhood Board 26, but I am here as a community person and not representing the board. This is the first time I'm testifying before the city, so, you know, I'm kind of new at this. I did bullet points, so to speak, of what I oppose and comments that I made. Regarding the Coa Ridge, the 28 acres for Wahiawa General Hospital was taken out without notice. None of us knew it until we saw the plan. And, you know, it's a huge document. So we oppose that, especially when there was no explanation except that in the college and hospital area, they said that it should be located near a transit station. And of course, we don't have a transit station, you know. Anyway, I don't recall a public meeting being held to discuss it except for the reviewing the entire general plan and the Wahiawa community agreeing on the change, including input from the hospital, whom I'm assuming may not have been notified about it. So even the hospital didn't know about it, okay? Number two, for the parks, there was a section that called the Wahiawa Botanical Garden as primarily a gulch in the natural state. And as a resident of Wahiawa, I take great opposition for calling it that. Very insulting. Number three, talk about a trail from the Wahiawa Botanical Garden to the freshwater park does not take into consideration of flood dangers. So if you were to make a trail, someone were to die when there's rain, who pays for that, okay? Number four, Table 5.1, Implementation Matrix, Section 3.7, Wahiawa Town, establishing a possibility explore a possibility of establishing a geriatric research and technology center. The center has been discussed as being on the Wahiawa General Hospital site. No one's really said that, it just says in Wahiawa. There has been no public hearing, and the Wahiawa General Hospital has not been informed about converting the hospital to a geriatric/technology site. We need more transparency in that. Number five, Table 5.1, Implementation Matrix, Section 4.9, about other community facilities. Locates the correctional facilities on lands planned for industrial and agricultural use if such facility is proposed for lands not planned for industrial or agricultural use. Well, anyway, you can read the rest of that, but,
So, Lee, can you try to summarize? You're kind of going
okay,
beyond
anyway,
the time limit.
anyway, it talks about OCC transferring to Mililani, and then the residents in that area is against that. No, I thought you have to mention all these sections and all that.
We do have that time limit,
Oh,
so
okay,
you're already
okay.
beyond it.
And they're talking about a first responder building at the tech park also, which I've never seen a public hearing. And I understand that money may have been purchased for that, and it should be more transparent. And also too, on the water allocation and system development, I understand that the plans for Central Oahu and North Shore have not been approved yet. So it might take into consideration approving a lot of things that are going to use water, like the Whitmore Industrial Park there, before they approve everything, because we may run out of water. Thank you.
Okay, and we do have your written testimony, so we've reviewed it. Okay, Daniel Nair. Oh, any questions for the previous testifier? Okay, Daniel Nair.
Good morning, members of the council, and I oppose this plan. One, they propose a subdivision in Pamoho Camp and in Kania Village that are outside of the growth boundaries. They say they are going to build 12,300 houses, and there will only be, in the next 18 years, an increase of 13,200. So that means of those units, 11,800 are going to have one person living in them, 500 are going to have two people living in them, and no births will occur in Central Oahu. They have 4 different plans for Waiwa. They have a special district plan that they can build 60-foot high, 90-unit, medium rise apartments anywhere in Waiwa town. There is a section here outside of eliminating the hospital. It says approval of major facilities. Major public, quasi-public, private facilities or utilities which provide essential community services, but which could have a major adverse impact on surrounding land use, should be considered through a city review approval process which provides public notification, review of appropriations, appropriate agencies, opportunity for public comment, and approval by city council will be deleted from this plan. So any major facility, the developer can put it in at any time without city notification. Thank you.
Okay, any questions for the testifier? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, do we have any other testifiers on Bill 75? Okay, members, since we don't have any additional testifiers, we're going to be voting on each of the first reading bills individually. Okay, starting with the measures that we've just discussed on page 13, or for which we received testimonies on page 13. Okay, let's start with Bill 71. Do we have any discussion on Bill 71? Yes, Chair Emeritus.
Thank you, Chair. Briefly, since I don't serve on the subject committee that this is going to be referred to, Chair, just briefly comments on Bill 71. You know, anytime I think we have the opportunity to protect our environment and our marine life, it's the right thing to do. Having said that, I think with respect to Bill 71, I think we need to be sensitive and careful on the impacts of such a ban on small businesses that already, as you well know, operate on razor-thin margins. I think as we advance this bill forward under the leadership of both the author of the bill and the subject matter chair, I ask that we proceed very cautiously and consider a phased-in approach that includes an analysis of the potential economic impact on small businesses should a ban been enacted. And in closing, I wish my colleague, Councilmember Fukunaga, the best of luck, but I know it's in capable hands. She did an excellent job with the recent ban on plastic bags, and if there's any member of this body that can broker a bill that's reasonable, I have faith in my colleague. So thank you, Chair, for these brief comments.
Okay, further comments? Yes, Councilmember Pine.
Thank you so much, Chair. I actually do want to echo the words of Councilor Emeritus Martin. I do agree with him that we should look at the economic impacts. And I think what we will find and be very surprised about is what was introduced starting as 15 years ago in the legislature. I know, Council Chair, you introduced a styrofoam ban in the legislature, and you were way ahead of your time back then. We did consider the economic impacts, but what we found today, there's almost 130 restaurants. This doesn't include entire hotels, like the Four Seasons is entirely styrofoam free, and other hotels in Ko'olina have followed that suit. But we will find that of these 130 ocean-friendly restaurants that you can go visit on oceanfriendlyrestaurants.org, they are almost all of them are mom and pop stores. And what they are telling me is because more and more people are using these products, that the price goes down every 3 or 4 months. And so it is not as expensive as it used to be, but I certainly am sensitive because a lot of my friends own businesses that use styrofoam. But as we just honored the Hokulea and their Malama Honua mission, this is one of their top priorities. And this is one of the reasons why I introduced this, because it's very important to many of the members of the crew. It was why they sailed around the world for 3 years, because this was the #1 thing that they found everywhere that was hurting the ocean. And as an island that's surrounded by water, we are connected from the top of the mountain through our lakes and streams, and through our Aina, and all the way down to the ocean. It's how we get our food. And so as we move forward, we certainly should address all the economic impacts. And there is a phrase in there that addresses that for especially the small businesses that can show that it does economically impact them. But as we move forward for the future and what we want to see for Hawaii, I think we all can say that we want to save the Hawaii that we grew up in. And we can't do that if we continue certain practices that many believe hurt our environment and possibly our health. And so I look forward to the discussion. I know Councilmember Fukunaga will do a fabulous job with this bill. She's able to handle very tough subjects and opposing views very well. So I thank the council, and I hope to have your support as we do have an open and honest discussion on this particular issue. Thank you so much for your time, Chair.
Okay. Yes, Councilmember Manahan.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to speak in support of the measure, Bill 71, and I do as well look forward to the discussions in committee. I know that we have to be sensitive to our small businesses and their operations and their bottom lines. But what I would like to know in the discussions as this bill moves forward is how the industry plans to address these bills that are coming forward more and more in terms of banning plastic and polystyrene products from our city and our state, especially if they're looking to save these jobs for the future. I think it's incumbent upon these small businesses who rely on these products to really transition that workforce into something that's more environmentally friendly. Because I just don't see that these policies are going to change, or the bills are not going to stop. Perhaps not maybe from this council, but future councils and future legislatures. So again, speaking in support of Bill 71. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments on Bill 71? Okay, so I look forward to a very extensive and thorough discussion about this measure as it moves through the process and is reviewed by the appropriate subject matter committee. Okay, since we don't have any further discussion, let's take the vote. Are there any objections to passing Bill 71 out on first reading? Noting no objections, are there any reservations? There are no reservations, so Bill 71 has passed first reading. Bill 74, any discussion on Bill 74? Okay, since we don't have any discussion, are there any objections? Noting no objections, are there any reservations? There are no reservations. Bill 74 has passed first reading. And Bill 75, any discussion on Bill 75? Okay, since we don't have any discussion, let's take the vote. Are there any objections? There are no objections. Are there any reservations to this particular measure? There are no reservations. Bill 75 has passed first reading. Okay, we will now be taking up various resolutions for adoption. We're now on page 14 of the order of business. So at this time, I'd like to ask Councilmember Elefante, who is the chair of the Public Health, Safety, and Welfare Committee, if you might be able to make a blanket motion for adoption of the resolutions listed on page 14, page 15, and the top of page 16.
Yes, I'll be happy to do so. Chair, I move that the committee reports and resolutions on pages 14 and 15, as well as Committee Report 314 and Resolution 17-220 CD1 on page 16 be adopted.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded for the explanation of each resolution.
Yes, Resolution 17-202 relating to the acceptance of a gift to the City and County of Honolulu from the Waikiki Business Improvement District for the Honolulu Police Department to address various illegal activities on public sidewalks in specific areas in Waikiki. Resolution 17-203 relating to the acceptance of a gift to the City from the Mine Safety Appliances Company to provide rescue equipment to the Honolulu Fire Department personnel for confined space responses. Resolution 204 relating to the acceptance of gift to the City from the Honolulu Firefighters Foundation. Page 15, Resolution 209 relating to the acceptance of a gift to the City from Kickstart Karate for 6 members of the Honolulu Police Department to attend the 15th Annual Taste of Kickstart fundraiser on September 3rd, 2017. Resolution 17-218 CD1 authorizing the Chief of Police of the Honolulu Police Department to apply for and to enter into agreement with the Bureau of Justice Assistance, U.S. Department of Justice for funds for the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant Program FY 2017 local solicitation. And finally, Resolution 17-220 CD1 urging the Honolulu Police Commission to select a chief of police by October 31st, 2017. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're going to be taking up each of these resolutions individually. Let's start on page 14, Resolution 17-202. Do we have any testifiers on Resolution 17-202? Okay, since I don't see any testifiers coming forward, any discussion, members, regarding this particular resolution? Okay, since we don't have any discussion, are there any objections to this resolutions? Noting no objections, are there any reservations? Noting no reservations, Committee Report 309 and Resolution 17-202 have been adopted. Okay, the next resolution, Resolution 17-203. Do we have any testifiers who'd like to come forward, offer testimony? Okay, since we don't have any speakers offering any comments on this measure, we're now in discussion. Any discussion, members, regarding Resolution 17-203? Since we don't have any discussion, are there any objections to this reso? There are no objections. Any reservations to said reso? There are no reservations. Committee Report 310 and Resolution 17-203 have been adopted. With respect to Resolution 17-204, do we have any testifiers? Okay, we don't have any testifiers. Discussion, members. Since we don't have any discussion, are there any objections? Noting no objections, are there any reservations? We have no reservations. Committee Report 3-11 and Resolution 17-204 have been adopted. Let's proceed now to page 15 of the order of business. Starting at the top of the page, Resolution 17-209. Do you have any testifiers on said resolution? Okay. And we don't have any testifiers on that resolution. Are there any reservations? Discussion regarding this particular resolution. Okay, since we don't have any discussion, any objections to the resolution? Noting no objections, are there any reservations? We don't have any reservations. Committee Report 312 and Resolution 17-209 have been adopted. Moving on to the next resolution, Resolution 17-218, CD1. Do we have any testifiers regarding this particular resolution? Okay. Since we don't have any speakers coming forward to offer comments, we can now undertake a discussion of this resolution. Do we have any discussion, any comments about this resolution, colleagues? Okay. Since we don't have any discussion, are there any objections to said resolution? There are no objections, reservations. Noting the reservations, Committee Report 313 and Resolution 17-218 CD1 have been adopted. Okay, moving on to page 16 of the order of business. We have Resolution 17-220 CD1. Do we have any testifiers who'd like to come forward on this particular resolution? Okay, I don't see any testifiers or speakers wanting to come forward. So we can now enter into a discussion. Is there any discussion regarding this particular resolution? Councilmember Elefante.
Thank you, Chairman Nora. Your Committee on Public Health, Safety, and Welfare did have an opportunity to review this resolution and recommend for adoption. I want to thank Council Chair Emeritus for bringing this issue to our attention. I think it's a very important component of our department for the public health, safety, and welfare of our citizens of Honolulu as they select the new police chief. And it should be someone that they should first look within the department and also keep in mind and be inclusive and also look outside as well. We did hear testimony from the executive director as well as written testimony from the police commission, and I'm confident and capable that the Honolulu Police Commission will be able to select a new police chief that will really hold the values, integrity, as well as a vision in leading the department to ensure that Honolulu continues to be a safe city. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any further comments? Any further discussion regarding Resolution 17-220 CD1? Okay, since we don't have any further discussion, are there any objections to this particular resolution? Are there any reservations? Noting no reservations, Committee Report 314 and Resolution 17-220 CD1 have been adopted. Okay, so we have additional resolutions that we need to consider for adoption that are under the jurisdiction of the Committee on Parks, Community, and Customer Services. So I would ask the Chair of the Parks Committee, Councilmember Kobayashi, if you could make a blanket motion for adoption of the resolution that's listed on page 16, the resolutions, all of the resolutions listed on page 17, and the resolution at the top of page 18, that would be Resolution 17-217. So for the appropriate blanket motion, Councilmember Kobayashi.
Thank you, Chair. I move that the committee reports and gift resolutions listed on pages 16 through 18 be adopted. Committee Report 316 and Resolution 17-213 accepts a gift from the Cliff Rigsby Memorial Fund. Committee Report 317 and Resolution 17-214 accepts a gift from the Hawaii Medical Service Association. Committee Report 318 and Resolution 17-215 accepts a gift from Shinyo N, Hawaii. Committee Report 319 and Resolution 17-216 accepts a gift from the family of Harry and Flo Saunders. Committee Report 320 and Resolution 17-217 accept a gift from the Friends of Honolulu Parks and Recreation.
Thank you. For the second, Chair Emeritus.
Second the motion.
Moved and seconded with respect to all of those resolutions, and the resolutions have already been explained by the Chair of the Parks Committee. So we will take up each resolution individually, all right? Starting with the resolution on page 16, Resolution 17-213. Okay, do we have any testifiers on that particular resolution? We don't have any testifiers. Any discussion, members? There being no discussion, let's take the vote. Are there any objections to Resolution 17-213? Noting no objections, are there any reservations? There are no reservations. Committee Report 316 and Resolution 17-213 have been adopted. Let's proceed to the resolutions listed on page 17, starting with Resolution 17-214. Do we have any testifiers on that particular resolution? As we don't have any speakers coming forward to offer comments, we can now enter into discussion. Any discussion, members, on this resolution? As we don't have any discussion, are there any objections to Resolution 17-214? There are no objections. Are there any reservations? Noting no reservations, Committee Report 317 and Resolution 17-214 have been adopted. We proceed now to Resolution 17-215. Okay, any discussion, members, or testifiers on this? Okay, no testifiers, discussion, members. Seeing no discussion, are there any objections to Resolution 17-215? There are no objections, reservations. There are no reservations. Committee Report 318 and Resolution 17-215 have been adopted. And Resolution 17-216, any speakers would like to come forward to offer comments? We don't have any testifiers, so we can enter into a discussion. Any discussion? We don't have any discussion. Are there any objections? Noting no objections. Any reservations, members? Noting no reservations, Committee Report 319 and Resolution 17-216 have been adopted. And at the top of page 18, okay, Resolution 17-217. Okay, do we have any testifiers in Resolution 17-217? Okay, we don't have any testifiers. Any discussion, members? We don't have any discussion. Any objections, reservations? Noting none, Committee Report 320 and Resolution 17-217 have been adopted. Okay, Councilmember Kobayashi for the appropriate motion with respect to the last resolution listed on page 18.
I move that Committee Report 321 and Resolution 17-226 be adopted.
Second.
Moved and seconded.
Requesting that the city administration update the IAEA Town Center Master Plan
Okay,
by incorporating the IAEA Community Association's recommendations to reflect the community's current development priorities.
Oh, thank you very much for the explanation. We have a further motion to amend. Councilmember Fukunaga.
Thank you, Chair. I move to further amend Resolution 17-226 CD1 to the hand-carried FD1.
Councilmember Elefante.
Second the motion.
Okay, for the explanation, Councilmember Fukunaga.
The proposed FD1 makes the following amendments to the proposed CD1 that was adopted by the Parks Community and Customer Services Committee on August 22nd. It amends the sixth whereas clause to read as follows. Whereas between 2009 and 2014, the ACA sought to obtain a master development lease to undertake the implementation of the master plan because it viewed community control over the IAEA Town Center as the best way to ensure that the property was developed and maintained in a manner consistent with the vision and values of the IAEA community. It amends the seventh whereas clause to read as follows. Whereas between 2014 and 2017, the ACA has continued its community outreach efforts to update and implement the master plan, including conducting meetings with University of Hawaii at Manoa architectural and landscaping students to update plans for recreational and community center uses within the IAEA Town Center project site, and lauding the 2014 opening of the new IAEA Public Library in the IAEA Town Center project site for its expansion of the library's function as a community gathering place for educational and social activities that benefit all community residents. And item C, it amends the be it resolved clause to read, be it resolved by the Council of the City and County of Honolulu that the city administration is requested to update the 2002 IAEA Town Center Master Plan by incorporating as appendices the IAEA Community Association's recommendations to reflect the community's current park development priorities. And item, let me see, D amends the first be it further resolved clause to read as follows. Be it further resolved that the city administration is requested to work closely with the IAEA Community Association to implement the IAEA Town Center Master Plan and its appendices, incorporating to the largest extent possible the designs, diagramming, and planning notes provided by the IAEA Community Association. Item E amends the second be it further resolved clause to read as follows. Be it further resolved that the city administration is requested to post and link the master plan and its appendices as a part of the Pearl Highlands, Pearl Ridge, and Aloha Stadium rail stations transit-oriented development plans. And item F makes miscellaneous technical and non-substantive amendments.
Okay, thank you very much. So, do we have any testifiers who'd like to come forward to offer comments on Resolution 17-226 CD1? And the proposed FD1 is thoroughly explained by Councilmember Fukunaga. Okay, please come forward.
Gee, I'm thinking maybe I shouldn't testify. Everything else sailed right through. Um, Good morning, Council Chair Menor, Vice
morning.
Chair Anderson, and members of the council. I strongly support Resolution 17226 CD1 FD1. My name is Claire Tamamoto, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Aya Community Association and myself. As many of you already know, the Aya Community Association remains engaged in all aspects of the redevelopment of the former Aya Sugar Mill site. This resolution speaks to our commitment to ensure that the involved parcels are developed in a manner that best serves the interests of our community. In an effort to make a plan and design and development a reflection of our community's needs, the association continues to conduct community conversations to keep abreast of those needs. The plans outlined in Resolution 17226 CD1 FD1 represents the efforts of the University of Hawaii at Manoa architectural and landscaping graduate students to capture our community's needs and combine them with current global practices for community spaces. These plans have been vetted by our community through, I thought I was getting better at this.
Please proceed, you can kind of wrap
captured
up.
To capture our community's needs and combine them with, I said that. These plans have been vetted by our community through community meetings, neighborhood board meetings, and community gatherings. These plans are consistent with Aya's vision and values reflected in the original Aya Town Center plan. The inclusion of these plans affirms the countless hours of us developing a sense of place for Aya. We are grateful for the partnership extended to our community by the University of Hawaii Manoa students. I assure you, as one that has been there from the beginning of our community's efforts in 1998, there are many stakeholders involved in the redevelopment of this land. The City and County of Honolulu has committed many hours and resources through their Office of Community Services Department, Department of Planning and Permitting, Department of Parks and Recreation, City Councils, and Administration. All have joined together to work with the Aya Community Association to build a sense of place. We appreciate all those efforts, and we thank you for your continued support. The Aya Community Association is invested in the former Aya Sugar Mill site. Resolution 17226 CD1 FD1 is important to our community, and I urge you to support and validate the work of our community on the Aya Town Center Master Plan as a living document. Thank you very much.
Okay, any questions for the testifier? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do we have any other testifiers on Resolution 17-226 CD1 and the proposed FD1? Okay, since I don't see, we don't have anyone else coming forward to offer a testimony, we can now go into discussion. Any discussion regarding the proposed FD1? Yep, Councilmember Elefante.
Thank you, Chairman Nora. I know that I filed Council Communication 286, and just real briefly, I want to make a comment. I want to thank the previous testifier, Ms. Tamamoto. She's really been a champion in the community, really working hard. As a longtime resident of Aiea, she was very instrumental in getting the new Aiea library that is at the old Aiea Sugar Mill site. As Aiea being an old plantation town, we've seen it transition to what it is today, and it's very fruitful to know that we're very grateful that the city does have parcels there to really address the needs of the community. And so I want to thank my colleague who also co-represents the Aiea area, Councilmember Fukunaga, for introducing this and offering this floor draft in support of this resolution. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do we have any other discussion regarding this measure? All right, so let's take a vote on the proposed FD1. Are there any objections to amending? Okay, noting no objections, are there any reservations to the proposed FD1? Noting no reservations, Resolution 17-226 CD1 has been amended to a hand-carried FD1. Now, are there any objections to waiving Council Rule 19.E, which is our 48-hour notice requirement? Any objections? Okay, noting no objections, are there any reservations? Noting no reservations, the 48-hour notice has been waived. Now, is there any discussion regarding the underlying measure that's before you? Okay, we don't have any discussion. Are there any objections to Resolution 17-226 CD1 FD1? There are no objections. Are there any reservations? Noting no reservations, Committee Report 321 and Resolution 17-226, CD1, FD1 have been adopted. Okay, let's take up two additional resolutions before we proceed to go back to the bill that was in the early part of our agenda, which was Bill 45 CD1. Let's take up two additional resolutions on page 19. Page 19. Okay, so from the Committee on Executive Matters and Legal Affairs, Councilmember Fukunaga.
I move that Committee Report 322 and Resolution 17-208 CD1 be adopted.
Okay, Vice Chair Anderson.
Second the motion.
Moved and seconded. Councilmember Fukunaga for the explanation.
This resolution affirms the Hawaii State Association of Counties resolution supporting the Hawaii State Legislature's approval of an extension of the Honolulu GET and use tax surcharge.
Okay. Do we have any testifiers who'd like to offer comments on Resolution 17-208 CD1? Okay, since we don't have any testifiers on this particular measure, we can now enter into discussion. Any discussion regarding this particular resolution? Okay. We don't have any discussion, so we can now take the vote. Are there any objections to Resolution 17-208 CD1? Noting no objections, are there any reservations? Noting no reservations, Committee Report 322 and Resolution 17-208 CD1 have been adopted. Okay, from the Committee on Budget, Councilmember Manahan.
Okay, Chairman, I move that Committee Report 325 and Resolution 17-211 be adopted.
Second the motion.
Moved and seconded. Councilmember Manahan for the explanation.
Thank you. This is accepting a gift to the city from the Association of Local Government Auditors.
Okay, are there any testifiers who'd like to offer comments on Resolution 17-211? We don't have any testifiers, so we're now into discussion. Any discussion, members, regarding this particular resolution? Okay. Since we don't have any discussion, are there any objections to Resolution 17-211? Noting no objections, are there any reservations? There are no reservations, so Committee Report 325 and Resolution 17-211 have been adopted. Okay, let's go back to the earlier part of the agenda. This is on page 12. Page 12. This is with respect to Bill 45, CD1. So for the appropriate motion, Councilmember Manahan.
Thank you, Chairman. I move that Committee Report 343 be adopted and Bill 45 CD1 pass third reading as amended.
Vice Chair Anderson.
Second the motion.
Moved and seconded. Councilor Manahan for the explanation.
Thank you, Chair. This is relating to the transportation surcharge, amending the ordinances pertaining to the county surcharge on general excise and use taxes.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, do we have any testifiers on Bill 45 CD1? I see a familiar face in the audience who had just raised his hand. He'd like to come forward, so please come forward.
Good morning and aloha. Aloha. You know, it's good to be out here on the beginning of the West Side in a community that is about dreams and hope, a place where young families can still find a home that's affordable to start to raise a family. You know, I think of places like Ho'opili, and the first family has now moved in, first-time homeowner. And much has to do with what happens out here for how the rest of us live on this very small island of 600 square miles with 1 million people. And rail is a critical component of that plan, in that dream. And I want to thank the members of the Honolulu City Council for their political courage and bravery, not once, not twice, but 3 times. You know, yesterday I heard folks say that the state has given the city over $7 billion. The state, to clarify, gave the authority to each of the counties to extend a county surcharge on the state GET. And this county now is going to vote for the third time to extend this surcharge, to build this system that has so much to do with what's happening out here on the west side. And that is Bill 45, and I'm here today to ask for your strong support of the bill. And to thank you for you once again showing the courage in doing so. Authority is one thing. People can give authority to someone, but when you have to stand up and say, yes, I will vote to extend this surcharge for another 3 years, to raise the funds sufficient to complete this project from out here to Ala Moana, where so many people want to get into work in Waikiki, or up to Manoa, University of Hawaii, or other places around town, is about looking towards the future. Most of us will not be here when the full 20 miles is operating. Perhaps one of you will be mayor, and I hope so. But most of us will not be here. So this is not about claiming the credit and patting each other on the back. It's not a popular thing to do, but it is absolutely the correct thing to do for the future of this island. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for what you're doing, what you have done, and for the slings and arrows you've taken in doing it. Thank you so much. I'm going to be working closely with you in the coming months and years to make sure as this project continues that there's a greater control on cost and schedule. And I'm reminded last week when Chair Manor and I and Councilmember Joy Monahan were down at the legislature, and we were asked, who is responsible for rail? Who is responsible for rail? At the end of the day, it is a city project, and as the executive of the city, I am responsible, and the council is responsible. But our responsibility comes from appointing HART board members. HART was created to take the politics out of the system and to put a board in that is responsible. They have fiduciary duties to the taxpayers of the city and county of Honolulu. Fiduciary duties to those who are building the system for, to make sure that everything possible is being done to control cost and be tighter on the schedule. It's your responsibility, Chair Manor, and my responsibility as mayor to make sure that they perform their job well, along with the members of the council. And I know that we're going to be doing that. So I want to thank all of you again for supporting Bill 45. Thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Appreciate it. Love all of you. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions for the mayor? Okay.
Thank you
very much.
Thanks.
All right. Do we have any other testifiers on Bill 45 CD1? And for those of you who want to testify, please line up to the left of me along the wall. But I see a person in the back. Why don't you just come forward? Take the more direct route instead of taking the circuitous route.
Good morning. And thank you very much for having this meeting this morning out here in Kapolei. I really find it astonishing and breathtaking that this particular rail event is still talking about being a transportation situation. You can't build a strong program on a lie. The truth of the matter is that this rail project has the potential to actually finish us financially. There's going to be very little time, very little effort put into a lot of different problems that Oahu has. And so much money is being diverted to this rail situation project. Now you realize, of course, it's only 3 years, and Mayor Caldwell has promised to come back. You all heard this when the special session went on downtown at the main building. He'll be back. It's going to be more money needed to complete this. So those are my only comments, and I wish him well. I wish you all well, but he will be back. Thank you.
Okay, any questions from the members? Okay, do we have any additional testifiers on this particular measure, Bill 45? Okay, there being none, we're now in discussion. Any discussion, members? Mr. Elefante?
Thank you, Chairman Noor. In support of Bill 45, CD1, for passage of third reading, first of all, I want to thank Mr. Mayor for being here and for his leadership in advocating for this project. I've always been a strong supporter of our rail transit project, and also want to thank you, Chairman Noor, as well as the members of the Permitted Interaction Group for working with the state legislature. And we're very grateful to the state legislature for them convening in a special session and for Governor Ige signing Senate bill into law to allow us the authority to ensure that we continue building this project. Ideally, Mr. Chairman, I would have wanted an extension of just the general excise tax, as I felt that that's been the most best way to approach the issue, rather than looking at TAT and other measures to support this going forward. However, at the end of the day, as we believe in compromise, this is what we have from the state legislature and from the governor signing this into law. With this measure today, Mr. Chairman, this ensures the completion, especially for the two major projects we have to go out to build. One of them being in the district I represent, the Pearl Highlands Station parking garage, as well as the city center. And it's important to complete our minimum operating segment, 20 miles, 21 stations, with the first 10 miles being completed all the way to Aloha Stadium. And this is really the future for our communities and the future for our island. As I mentioned in committee, Mr. Chairman, there is no other type of major transportation infrastructure project that are on the books other than our high-capacity Honolulu Rail Transit Project. As a member of the Oahu Metropolitan Planning Organization, along with my colleague Vice Chair Anderson and Councilmember Pine, who represents the West Side, there's nothing in the books, even at Ampo. The only thing that we have on the books is this rail transit project. I encourage HART and stakeholders, as I mentioned about the Pearl Highlands parking garage, to really ensure safe access and work with landowners around the area as people get to and from that station. And again, I'll be in support of this bill going forward today. I want to thank you again, Mr. Chairman, and the mayor and our state colleagues across the street who have worked diligently to come up with a solution so that we ensure that we complete and finish this project. Thank you.
Thank you. You know, I did want to call a representative from HART to just ask some very brief questions. We have Director Murthy. I know he's yet to answer a lot of questions, but
Good morning, Chair and members of the Council. I thank you very much for all the support that you have extended to HART. And as the Mayor said, we are committed to get this project done within the budget and on the schedule that we have provided. I would also like to take the opportunity to introduce the permanent CEO here. He's in the audience, Mr. Andy Robbins. And so we are grateful for all the guidance, help, and support that you have given us to get this project done. And we will certainly work hard to get it done. I would be happy to answer any questions.
okay, since the governor signed the bill into law, and since the close of the special session, have you heard from the FDA in regards to the passage of the bill by the legislature?
Well, we have been in discussions with FDA, and we will be providing them the recovery plan, as you know, by September 15th. They will be looking towards the funding scenarios that we are presenting to them, and whether the recovery plan has a credible financial plan. Is it the source of the finance available to it is credible? That's what they will be looking at. They will not make a decision about approving the recovery plan quickly. There will be a back and forth exchange of information between HART, City, and FTA. So I think this will be a long, prolonged process, but it will happen. But they have been very supportive of the project.
Okay. You know, as you know, during the legislative hearings, concerns were expressed about the assumptions that the legislature were making in developing and coming up with their funding plan. And one of the concerns was the legislature's assumptions with respect to potential future cost increases with respect to construction or capital costs. And there was a concern that perhaps the legislature was not being conservative enough. However, and perhaps you can clarify this, it's my understanding that the base analysis, the baseline analysis that HART will be presenting will in fact be based on more conservative assumptions with respect to TAT and GET revenue growth, that basically HART's going to be utilizing the more conservative figures that have been provided by the Council on Revenues, which, as you know, also provides data upon which the state develops its budget. The Council on Revenue projections are very reliable and credible, generally speaking. So based on HART's utilization of the Council on Revenue's assumptions, do you feel comfortable that in regards to the funding plan that the legislature has approved, that it will generate sufficient revenue to complete the construction of rail to Ala Moana Center?
Well, any new source of funding is always subject to analysis, and they will be looking very closely at the credibility of the information regarding the TAT, how good it is, how credible it is. So they're going to go back and look at their past 10 years of revenue that TAT has generated before they can make a decision. So there will be a lot of exchange of information between us, the city, and the FTA before we get a final approval on it.
Okay, but you feel confident that given the passage of Bill 4, the signing of Bill 4 into law, and assuming the City Council approves this particular measure, that you feel confident that the FTA will ultimately approve HART's financial plan?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, any further questions? Yes, Councilmember Kobayashi.
Thank you, Director. In your remarks, you did say that the money provided in Bill 4 is sufficient to get us to Ala Moana, the Ala Moana station. So you stand by that?
Can you repeat it, please? I didn't hear.
Yes, in your remarks, you said that the monies provided will get us to the Ala Moana station.
Right.
So you stand by that, and that money will, no matter what, that money will get us to Ala Moana station.
Correct.
Without having to go to the taxpayers again with raising property tax, because the monies we will receive is sufficient.
I cannot talk about the taxes or anything. All I can talk about is the budget that the HART has developed. Right. We are, confident that the budgets that we have developed we will be able to deliver the project to Ala Moana.
Because the last time, I believe the monies we received, we were told that the monies that the legislature, the first bailout, that we would even have a surplus, and that didn't happen. And so with this bailout, I was happy to hear you say that that'll be sufficient money to get us to Ala Moana.
Yeah. The project has advanced quite a bit, as you well know. Almost about 60% of the project either has been constructed or has been awarded. So only we have the last piece of contract to be awarded. So we feel pretty confident that we have adequate data and information to say that the budget we have forecasted we'll be able to complete the project to Ala Moana.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And as a follow-up, my final follow-up, Director, of course, after the 2015 legislative session, many elected officials on both the state and city levels were very concerned about the fact that, as it turned out, the project was going to require an additional $1 to $2 billion in funding to cover the capital costs. In light of that response, in light of those concerns, the response of HART was to go back to the drawing boards to really look at its figures and to come up with cost projections that would be more reliable. And you've testified previously that you feel that the figure that HART has come up with is more reliable, given the fact that you're basing your calculations on real-world experience in terms of the contracts that have already been awarded, and also your projection in terms of future construction costs going forward. And so the figure that HART has been testifying about and has been standing on has been the figure of $8.165 billion in capital costs, exclusive of finance charges, and that's the figure that basically HART was testifying to. That's the figure that the state legislature relied upon to come up with this funding plan. And so the question I wanted to ask you is, that $8.165 billion figure appears to have been holding up. Are you still confident that that particular figure that HART has calculated for capital costs, exclusive of finance or debt service charges, that is a reliable figure that we can continue to count upon?
Yes, sir, we are confident, and also we have, as you well know, the procurement for the city center guideway and stations. We're going to re-procure that contract. That gives us an opportunity to be innovative and creative in procuring that contract. Hopefully with that approach, we should be able to keep the cost within the projected estimate.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions of the director? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we're still in discussion. Thank you. We're still in discussion. Any further discussion? Okay, Councilmember Kobayashi.
Yes, I have been very concerned about this whole project over the years. I will be voting in support of Bill 45 CD1 because I think the legislature, I thank them for this bailout, and that they this latest bailout will also add a great deal of transparency and the audit, and I think it'll bring, I hope, a lot more confidence on the part of many who have been really concerned about the mismanagement of the project, and that's why we are at the place we are now. It's almost $3 billion over budget and years, behind schedule. So, and that's why I'm voting for this, because it'll bring an end to the rail getting to Ala Moana, but then, with the rail then going on to Kapiolani to get to UH, that's a whole nother problem, especially with the rail being 30 feet above Kapiolani. And everyone having to disclose that this rail is going down Kapiolani past the many new buildings that are becoming up. But I will be voting in support of this and look forward to working with the new director who I've met before, and let's see what happens. Thank you.
Right. Any further comments? Yes, Councilor Manahan.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'm going to speak in support of the measure here today, and I just want to thank the legislature for their support of the project, and we are grateful for the extension and the dedicated funding that they gave us that will allow us to finish the minimum operating segment. Initially, I know when the city testified, we had some concerns with their proposal. And that basically came from that we felt those some of the assumptions that were being used to come up with the projections of the financing needed to complete the rail project. We felt those assumptions were a little bit aggressive, and so we had some concerns. But what the state did in enacting this bill, they basically now have become our willing partners in the rail endeavor, and as such, they are now co-managers of this project. And so I feel a little bit more confident that we are going to be able to work together as co-managers of this project, especially if in the future we need to address any funding shortfalls that may arise. But more than anything, what I would like to continue working with the legislature on is to make sure that the city's finances are in good standing, always in good rating, and that means basically to protect our bond issuances and our bond ratings, especially with regards to this project, because that is very important for us to be able to complete this project. Our bonding capacity has to remain intact, and so does our bond rating. And so with that, again, I just, I want to thank the legislature for their efforts. I want to thank the mayor for his efforts in really, carrying the water at the legislature. My colleagues here, yourself, Chairman, the members of the PIG, but all the members of the City Council who fought hard. I know we all believe in this project in some way, shape, or form, and I'm very grateful that Councilmember Kobayashi is supporting this measure, and I think that's a huge step forward, and if that's any indication that we're now working collaboratively on this project, then I welcome that, and I want to say thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments? Yes, Chair Emeritus.
Thank you, Chair. Briefly, I was gonna actually not really comment on this particular matter. My position on rail has always been very consistent, but I can recall a conversation I had with the interim director, Murthy, a few weeks ago. And I know he was very nervous as to whether the state legislature was going to act favorably on this particular matter. And I think what I responded to his concerns was directly what the legislature passed. I think if you ask the interim director, I see him in the audience, it's exactly what they passed was what I told him that they would likely pass. But I also want to thank the legislature for all their hard work. I know it was a very difficult decision, but I've always had faith in their abilities and wisdom and political courage to do the right thing. I actually wanted to comment in response to the mayor's testimony. First one, I had to laugh with my colleague. I mean, it wasn't being disrespectful to the mayor, but he closed his testimony with, I love you all. And I told my colleague, Councilmember Kobayashi, I know he wasn't talking to me. But when he also said, in response to questions from the legislature as to who is responsible for this project, I would assert that we all responsible for this project. Not just HART in and of itself, but the city council, the mayor, the state legislature, the governor, and our private partners who are working very diligently on the project itself. With the state legislature's action and the governor's signature of Senate Bill 4, it basically states what I've always affirmed, that we're all in. And when I say all, this is not just a county project, this is a state project that will not succeed without the state, the city, the federal government, and again, our private sector partners working collaboratively with one another. With our vote today and with the mayor's signature on the bill itself, I'm hopeful that all political posturing will end, and then going forward, we will act in good faith with the law as we proceed with moving this project forward. Unfortunately, during the deliberations of the state legislature, there was some negative consequences. I hope from this day on that we will stop trading insults, because ultimately, what has occurred is a further eroding of public confidence in the project. I think we need to work very closely together to let our put our emotions aside and work towards the success of this project. Chair, I had the opportunity to travel with the mayor to San Francisco to meet with the FTA, the Region 9 team, and at that time, the acting FTA administrator. When we went up there, the picture was doom and gloom. But I thought that we had a very formidable team. The mayor, led by the mayor, then HART Chair, Colleen Hanabusa, HART Vice Chair, Damien Kim, and myself. And we came back I think, with we represent in a very confident face before the FTA. I think at a time where they were reconciled that the county was going to fail. I encourage the mayor. I know he has some reservations as to whether the package passed by the legislature is sufficient to satisfy the concerns of the FTA. Perhaps, another visit to the FTA to convince them that we're confident that what we are contemplating here today is the right step to move this project forward. And in closing and in final response, I also foresee the day that we're gonna have to go back to the state legislature, but not to complete the line as contemplated through the full funding grant agreement, but to extend the line even further to UH Manoa, where we all know it rightfully should end. So I close with those remarks, and I voting in favor of Bill 45 CD1. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments? Okay, yeah, just in closing before we take the vote, I just wanted to also share my comments very briefly. I wanted to thank the legislature for their efforts. I will be joining my colleagues in voting in favor of this particular bill because extending the excise tax surcharge is an integral part of the legislature's funding plan to generate sufficient revenue to complete the rail project. Moreover, in light of the governor's signing of the legislature's funding plan, the passage of this measure will definitely enhance the prospect that the Federal Transit Administration will approve HART's financial plan, which will enable the city to be able to continue to receive critical federal financial support for this important project. The difficult actions and decisions that have had to be made with respect to the real funding issue have involved a long journey, but it's a journey that the city needs to try to successfully complete, and the passage of this measure would help to accomplish that objective. So for those reasons, I will be joining my colleagues in support of this particular measure. Okay, so before we cast the vote on this measure, are there any final thoughts or comments? Okay. Let's see, how do we do? Okay, so we need to vote. Roll call vote. Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Anderson.
Aye.
Councilmember Elefante.
Aye.
Councilmember Fukunaga.
Aye.
Councilmember Kobayashi.
Aye.
Councilmember Manahan.
Aye.
Councilmember Martin.
Yes.
Councilmember Gonzalez excused. Councilmember Pine.
Aye.
Chairman Orr.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 8 ayes, 1 member is absent.
Okay, so Committee Report 343 has been adopted, and Bill 45 CD1 has passed third reading. Okay, so let's go back to take up a few additional measures before we take a break or recess at 12:30. All right, so we are now on page 20. And for the appropriate motion, I defer to Councilmember Manahan of the Budget Committee.
Thank you, Chair. I move that the committee reports and resolutions as listed on pages 20 and 21 be adopted.
Second the motion.
Moved and seconded. Councilmember Manahan for the explanation.
Thank you. There's Committee Report 307 and Resolution 17-199 CD1 requesting the City Auditor to conduct a follow-up audit of HART. Committee Report 326 and Resolution 17-212. This is relating to the transfer of funds for the Department of Facility and Maintenance. And finally, on page 21 at the top of the page is Committee Report 327 and Resolution 17-219, and this is approving cost items for the Unit 10 collective bargaining agreement between the employer and the UPW for the period of July 1, 2017 to June 30, 2021 for BU 10 employees.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any testifiers regarding Resolution 17-199CD1? Okay, since we don't have any testifiers, we're now in discussion. Any discussion, members? Okay, Councilor Manahan?
Chairman, just really briefly, I was able to contact Councilmember Ozawa, who's proposing an FD1 to this resolution, but we did agree that we could address what he's asking for in this resolution through another resolution, which I plan to introduce with regards to a forensic audit. I just didn't feel that the forensic audit language would be appropriate in this resolution, mainly because our city auditor cannot do a forensic audit by law. He's limited in that capacity, but you know, I did thank Councilmember Ozawa for his efforts and asked him if we could take it up through a separate measure, and we will be doing that.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, so in brief, yeah, this resolution will definitely complement the provisions of the legislature's funding plan, which are intended to ensure greater oversight and accountability with respect to the rail project. So it's a good reso, and I'll support it. Councilor Manan,
Chairman, yes, thank you. And additionally, maybe I should have explained that the underlying resolution is basically a follow-up audit of the first audit we did a couple years ago for HART. What we would like to follow up on are some of the audit recommendations that our city auditor made in order to ensure that we are providing proper oversight over this project. And so that audit established a baseline, and this will enlighten us as to how we should better manage this project, I should say. So thank you very much, and encourage all the members, and I'd like to encourage them to support this measure. Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? Yes, Councilmember Pine.
Thank you very much, Chair. I also will be in strong support of this audit. You know, nothing has frustrated me more than representing the Leeward Coast, who needs the rail projects more than anyone, than to see cost overruns happen over and over again. I think it's imperative that we figure out how we got here so that we can ensure that no more cost overruns occur in the future. I welcome our new partnership with the state. I've always believed we should always work together, because this is a state-city project that will benefit all of our citizens. But we need to be open and honest and transparent with the public about how their money is being spent. And my district certainly welcomes this audit, and we look forward to a smoother ride in the future for this project. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, since that completes our discussion, are there any objections to Resolution 17-199CD1? Noting no objections, any reservations? There are no reservations. Committee Report 307 and Resolution 17-199CD1 have been adopted. Okay, for the next resolution on page 20, Councilmember Manahan.
Thank you, Chair. This is relating to the transfer of funds, and we've already made the motion, Chair.
Okay, Councilmember Elefante.
Yeah, the motion has been seconded.
Okay, yep. Moved and seconded, and you explained it. So, do you have any testifiers on Resolution 17-212CD1? Okay, since we don't have any speakers coming forward to offer comments, we can now proceed to discussion. Any discussion, members? Okay. Since we don't have any discussion, are there any objections to this particular resolution? Okay, no objections. Are there any reservations? There are no reservations. Committee Report 326 and Resolution 17-212CD1 have been adopted. Let's proceed to page 21. Okay. Councilmember Manahan for the appropriate motion.
Yes, Chairman, we did motion this. This is Resolution 17-219, and this is relating to, this approves the collective bargaining for UPW Unit 10.
Okay. Do you have any testifiers on Resolution 17-219? Okay, we don't have any testifiers. we can now undertake discussion. Councilmember Elefante.
Thank you, Chairman Orr. I know that I filed a disclosure of interest statement, Council Communication 287. Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion or comments? Okay, so if we don't have any comments, additional discussion, are there any objections to Resolution 17-219? Noting no objections, are there any reservations? Noting no reservations, Committee Report 327 and Resolution 17-219 have been adopted. From the Committee on Zoning and Housing, Councilmember Pine.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chair. I move that the committee reports, beginning with Committee Report 337 on page 21 to Committee Report 338 on page 22 be adopted.
Okay, Vice Chair Anderson.
Second the motion.
Moved and seconded. Councilmember Pine for the explanation.
Thank you. Resolution 17-198 urges the Director of Planning and Permitting to increase enforcement. Resolution 17-221CD1 relates to an interim plan development transit project on 1500 Kapiolani. And Resolution 17-228CD1 grants a special management area use permit.
Okay, thank you very much. Do you have any testifiers on Resolution 17-196? I'm sorry, 198, 17-198. I believe there was a registered speaker, Keith Watanabe. Is there Keith Watanabe? Okay. All right, again, final, okay, here. Okay, please proceed.
Hello, my name is Keith Watanabe. I'm an architect and an urban planner. I support this resolution, which is needed to address problems in neighborhoods throughout this island. Zoning laws are intended to segregate uses that were incompatible. Commercial and apartment uses are designated for areas that can accommodate this higher land use intensity. The large structures that are being built in a lot of neighborhoods throughout this island were never meant to be built in those areas. And they're destroying the character of the inherent residential neighborhoods. The current laws fail to provide effective control over the development. Developers and owners are using loopholes or are totally ignoring the existing zoning laws, which need to be revised to keep these buildings from being built. I checked out the ordinances before, but I know penalties for violating these laws are really minimal. In some cases, they might be like 25 bucks, which violators can collect thousands of dollars in rent to make up this. So, you know, the current fines provide no deterrence. That's it.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for the testifier? Okay. Any other testifiers on Resolution 17-198?
Barbara Armentrout. I'm a member of the REG Commission, but I'm speaking as an individual. I agree with the previous testifier because I live in Palolo and we drive a lot through Kaimaki and all the old style houses are gone and these houses are huge. They're just like huge mansions with the regular little houses right next to it, whether they have their family living in it, but then I heard there's a lot more Airbnbs, a lot more in Palolo, and I'm thinking, well, whoever owns that house, I sure hope they're gonna live in it because they're gonna be termed residential A one day and they're gonna be paying a lot of taxes if the owner doesn't live in that house. So they're just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Just drive through any of the streets in Kaimuki up there past 6th Avenue. You'll just see every block's got a new big house like that. It's unbelievable. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any questions of the testifier? Okay, any other testifiers? Resolution 17-198. Not questions from the members or discussion? Okay, since we don't have any discussion, Let's take the vote. Are there any objections to Resolution 17-198? Noting no objections, are there any reservations? Noting no reservations, Committee Report 337, Resolution 17-198 have been adopted. Okay, colleagues, so it's almost exactly 12:30, and we had announced that we would be in recess from 12:30 to 1:30, but I just wanted to seek your input in regards to whether we take a recess now or if you want to continue our discussion, our hearing with respect to one additional measure, and that's Resolution 17-221 CD1. That's the next item that's on our agenda. So what is the pleasure of my fellow council members? Do you want to take that up or do a recess? Vice Chair.
Chair, we're nearly finished with the agenda. I'd like to ask if we could please move forward and complete it. I think we can do so in a very relatively short amount of time.
That's fine. Okay. I just don't want you to be famished from hunger because you're missing lunch, but I think we've got a lot of adrenaline going right now. We have people who've been waiting to testify. So I agree with you, Vice Chair. Unless there are any objections, let's do it. Let's finish off this agenda. We've had a lot of long hearings over the past 2 or 3 council meetings. So let's make this happen. All right. Okay, so let's page 22. Let's get ready to rumble, right? Councilmember Elefante. All right. From the Committee on Zoning and Housing, Councilmember Pine.
Yes, we already did the motion, Chair.
Oh, okay.
Chair, we had a blanket motion for all of the resolutions.
Oh, you did? Oh. You guys really want to finish this off?
Yes,
huh?
we do.
Okay. Okay, so testifiers. Let's have some testifiers. People wanting to come forward to testify. We have, we'll start with Resolution 17-221 CD1. Okay, any testifiers on this particular measure? Please come forward. And those who want to testify, line up to the left of me along the wall, all right? Please proceed.
Good afternoon, Chair and council members. My name is Jonathan Moore. I'm an attorney representing the owners of 1538 Kapiolani, which is next door. Donna Walden next to me is one of those owners. We're here to speak in support of the resolution. We had initially approached the Committee on Zoning and Housing, and we mentioned that we were in support of the project, but we had some concerns. We have been in talks with the developer. Those are progressing very well. We believe that the project will enhance the neighborhood and be a benefit to the community overall, so we are here to support it. Thank you.
Any questions of the testifier? Okay, did you want to offer comments? Okay. Ms. Walden, you have a little bit more time.
You can speak.
Thank you, Council and Chair Minor.
Okay. Any questions for this testifier? Yes, Chair Emeritus.
Yeah, I was watching the subject matter hearing, and I understand that there were some concerns that you had with respect to the project, and your testimony today is in support of the project at this particular stage. So has those concerns been addressed by the developer?
As I mentioned, we've been having ongoing discussions. They're very productive. We believe that any concerns that we have raised are either adequately protected already by law or items that we can work out on an amicable basis with the developer.
Okay. I guess when the developer comes forward, I will ask the developer as to what they committed to with respect to some of the concerns that you had previously expressed. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Council Member.
Next testifier? Oh, I'm sorry, Councilmember Kobayashi.
So the wall that'll be next to the property is, it'll be 60 feet high, almost the length of the property, with no setback. So you've worked out your concerns with the developer should something happen during construction?
Yes, we have.
Okay. Because it lowers the value of your property, I think, with that wall with no setback. But I guess there's no other way to work that out.
We're working on trying to work it out right now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next testifier?
Good afternoon, Chair Menorah, Vice Chair Anderson, and members of the council. My name is Kevin Carney. I'm Vice President of EAH Housing. EAH Housing is honored to be selected by Salem Partners as their nonprofit developer and manager for the proposed 78 units of affordable rental housing serving seniors age 62 and up with incomes at or below 80% of the area median income. EAH is a 501c3 nonprofit that will be celebrating its 50th anniversary next April. We are one of the largest nonprofits in the Western United States with a staff of 475 operating in California and Hawaii. We've been serving the residents of Hawaii for over 20 years. We specialize in the development, management, and preservation of low-income housing. In our 49-year-plus history, we have never sold a property. EAH Housing is a long-term caretaker of affordable rental housing. Since our founding in 1968, EAH has developed, may I continue?
Okay, you can
EAH has developed,
wrap it up.
EAH has developed 95 rental properties and has acquired and preserved another 26 properties in California and Hawaii. We currently manage 110 properties and serve over 20,000 residents. This proposed and yet to be named senior rental housing development at 1500 Kapi'olani will serve seniors, as I said, at incomes at or below 80%. The 2017 maximum income at 80% AMI, as established by HUD, is $58,640 for a one-person and $66,960 for a two-person household. And I stress these are 2017 figures. We don't expect to complete this project if approved by the council today to move forward for another 4 to 4.5 years. So those numbers will change. The maximum rent, including utilities, that can be charged based on these 2017 numbers are $1,466 for a studio and $1,570 for a one-bedroom apartment at 80% AMI. While we're still working on the floor plans and the types of units, EAH does intend to have a majority of the units serve incomes at or below 60% of the area median income, with a few units serving those at 30% area median income. This means that the majority of rents, including utilities, will range from $549 for a studio at 30% AMI to $1,177 for a one-bedroom at 60% AMI. Again, these are based on 2017 figures. For EAH or any other low-income rental housing developer to be able to serve these senior lower-income groups in this very high-cost land area of Honolulu with its cornucopia of conveniences is an unbelievable and extremely rare opportunity. While what Salem Partners is committing to do is creative, it is bold, it is selfless, it is taking a risk that they do not need to take, it is unique, and it is challenging. As their partner in this undertaking, EAH accepts the challenge and asks for your support of this much-needed housing. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Any questions for the testifier? Yep, Councilmember Pine.
We were talking about EAH's ability to get land across the state. Do you ever see any other opportunity for EAH to be able to provide rents as low as $549 to our seniors right across from Ala Moana Shopping Center?
No, as I said, this is an extremely rare opportunity. Typically, and as in this case, a nonprofit or a for-profit developer of low-income rental housing cannot afford to pay for land, period. It just doesn't pencil out given the low rents that we're charging to serve these lower income groups. So this is indeed unique. We're, as I said, honored to be selected and excited to move forward.
Thank you very much.
Any further questions? Okay, thank you. Next testifier.
Morning or afternoon, Chair, Council members. My name is Rene Berthiaume, and I just very briefly wanted to say I've been an advocate for programs for the disabled, employment programs and housing, special need housing and affordable housing for 50 years here. I sit on a number of boards, including Catholic Charities, Housing Corporation Board, Housing Hawaii, Habilitat, and Habitat, I should say, for Humanity, as well as a former member of the Public Housing Authority. I do want to say that I'm not testifying for those organizations because I haven't brought that to those boards, but I'm sure they would support it. Because I follow these things, I was very attracted, very briefly, what attracted me was the fact that this Ceylon Partners is building a hotel, which, as you know, doesn't have an inclusionary zoning requirement. So for them to step forward and offer to build that affordable housing above the hotel is quite I've never seen that before. So just generally speaking, I very much support the concept. As Kevin said, it's a very rare opportunity, particularly where it's located. So I would urge support for that.
Okay, question for the testifier? Okay, thank you very much. Next speaker.
Hi, I'm Keith Kurashi with Arm Tao, the agent for the applicant, and here to answer any questions. And I wanted to thank the council members, Ms. Pine and everyone else for their support so far.
I'm Jim Radkovich, and I want to thank the council members. Thank you, Council Chairman, and members for this opportunity. I guess we're here to answer any questions that you have. So, yeah.
Okay, any questions? Okay, Councilmember Kobayashi.
I've always had a concern because of the no setback on the property right next, and that's just a one-story building, and yours will be a 60-foot wall. So, are you negotiating or meeting or trying to
Sure.
make sure that the neighboring property owner will not have to suffer because of whatever might happen during construction, but even after construction, there'll be, that 60-foot wall will always be there?
Yeah, we are in active communication with our next door neighbor, and we are very conscious of the risk during construction, and we will take measures to make sure that there are no problems. We also feel that our project will be very accretive to the value of the property next door, given that we'll be spending hundreds of millions of dollars in improving the area. So we're very happy about that.
Thank you. And my other concern was the parking, and you've been able to add to that, because that neighborhood is really very congested and really old buildings without adequate parking.
No question. And we've increased our parking to accommodate accommodate our neighbor, and accommodate the extra 10 affordable housing units that were added after the zoning and housing meeting.
Thank you. And then my last concern is I know you're using union labor, but I just want to make sure that even the small guys will be getting contracts, not just the big guys.
Sure. This project will hire a Hawaii Union general contractor who will utilize Hawaii Building Trades union workers as well as basic craft workers.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, just a follow-up. I just want to let you know that I do share Councilmember Kobayashi's concerns with respect to the parking issue and also the potential negative impacts on the neighboring properties. So I am supporting this project, but with the understanding that the developer will continue to exert its best efforts to try to resolve the particular concerns that Councilmember Kobayashi has raised. So I believe that you are committed to doing that. Is that correct?
Yes, we are.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions of the developer? Okay, thanks. Okay, thank you. Oh, Chair Emeritus.
Thank you for your responses. Just as a point of clarification on the parking issue, is there any allowances for dedicated parking for the adjoining neighbor in the project?
Yes, and that's what we were just addressing with Donna and her attorneys, and we've been meeting on a regular basis. And we have been able to increase the parking by 20 spaces to date, and we will work out an arrangement with Donna for use of those spaces.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, no further questions, thank you. Next testifier?
Good afternoon, Chair Manor and council members. My name is REG Council. I represent the Hawaii Building Construction Trades Council, 13 of the construction unions, and we're in support of this project.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions from the members? Okay, thank you very much. Next testifier.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, and council members. My name is Dion Kalaola. I'm a service representative with the Hawaii Regional Council of Carpenters. The Hawaii Regional Council of Carpenters supports the interim plan, development transit, and special district permit to allow the development of a new multi-tower mixed-use development at 1500 Kapiolani. This much needed and long overdue redevelopment of Kapiolani Boulevard will significantly enhance the neighborhood and provide much needed hotel room inventory for visitors. The project will provide a much needed 78 affordable units in the urban core and near the future Honolulu rail system. Additionally, the developer has committed to crosswalk improvements, bike lanes, and a public plaza. This project, estimated to cost $400 million in construction spending, will create an immediate stimulus of 300 jobs for Hawaii's construction workers and millions a year in revenues for the City Council of Honolulu and the state's general fund. Finally, the project will provide further opportunities to transform an area in much need of renovation into a pedestrian-friendly corridor that will integrate well with Ala Moana Center, the Hawaii Convention Center, and the future Honolulu Rail Transit Station. Thank you for allowing us to voice our support of this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions, members? Okay, thank you very much. So do we have any additional individuals in the audience who'd like to come forward to offer testimony or comments on this particular measure, Resolution 17-221 CD1? Okay, since we don't have any additional testifiers, we are now in discussion. Councilmember Elefante.
Thank you, Chairman Nor. I know that I filed disclosure of interest statements, Council Communication 291, 292, 293, 294, and 295. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments during this discussion phase of the bill? Councilmember Pine.
Thank you very much. I do want to thank Councilmember Kobayashi, who is an integral part of ensuring that a lot of the negotiations with this project went very smoothly. And also Vice Chair Anderson and members of the zoning committee. This is a spectacular project for the Honolulu City Council and the city. When the developer first came to the city with this TOD project, there were no true affordable units because it wasn't required of them building a hotel. And I want to thank the director of DPP and the mayor and all of their staff for helping to negotiate 68 affordable units for seniors. And I want to thank the developer for meeting with me very early in the process while they're at DPP so that I can encourage to them the council's desire to really focus on truly building affordable housing, especially at 80% and below. And what Kevin Carney said, the majority will be 60% and below. And I was happy to hear that they are especially targeting also 30% and below, which is our lowest of income seniors that are struggling to get by. And I want to thank the developer who practically had a heart attack thinking that he had negotiated enough before he came to us, or their whole team came to us, and council members wanted 10 more additional affordable senior rentals for a total of 78. And that they agreed, instead of 30 years of affordability, that they would truly make a commitment to make it 60 years instead. And that was the amendment that we made in our zoning committee. And I was happy that they agreed to that. And to address a lot of the concerns from 1538 Kapiolani, businesses, as well as Councilmember Kobayashi's concern about the lack of parking in the area and how we need to free up the streets a little bit from some of the parking. We also went from 487 parking stalls to 517 stalls. But it really doesn't stop there. When you think about the benefits to the community and what the developer gave up additionally. Where these senior affordable housing units were, there was once a very high revenue generating wedding facility, a nightclub and restaurants, and instead there's gonna be a bunch of seniors living their lives very happily, knowing that they don't have to stress or worry, that they have to get in their cars and wonder if they're gonna make it to the store okay. They can just walk downstairs and go to Walgreens, where they have pretty much everything there. And that's the most wonderful thing about this. They don't have to move all the way to the edge of a rural community where there's no transportation, no rail, no way to get places. They're gonna live in the heart of where everything is, where everything will be at their fingertips. So this is truly spectacular. This is what TOD was envisioned to be about. And I have high hopes for this council and the administration that we will continue to try to see how we can negotiate these kind of projects that blend just changing an entire community and bringing revenue and jobs to certain areas and TOD areas, getting people out of their cars, but also never forgetting our true intended purpose of TOD, and that was to provide affordable housing. What a lot of people didn't know before the zoning hearing, and I thought I should make it clear today, the developer will contribute the land, the pre-construction, and some construction costs close to $8.8 million for the affordable housing portion. But what's even more to note is that they will give up $40 million in projected revenue that building was supposed to provide its investors. But they felt that this was just the right thing to do. They want to take care of our workers, and as you can see today, we're all together on this issue. And so I hope to get the rest of the council members' support for this particular project that will truly change so many lives and bring thousands of jobs to local people. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Have any further comments on this particular resolution? Yes, Councilmember Kobayashi.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'd like to thank Zoning Chair Kimberly Pine for patiently working with me on my many concerns and the concerns of the constituents and the neighbors in that area. And also and thank you for the Zoning Chair for the added affordable housing, especially the seniors. It really is going to change the lives of many. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments? Yes, Chair Emeritus.
Thank you. I'd like to speak in support of the project. I commend the development team for working with the parties who had concerns and addressing their concerns, and also coming forward today to affirm their representations to commit, to continue to commit to address those concerns going forward. I also want to thank the development team personally, not only for this particular project, which will bring many benefits to that particular area, but also for their support of my North Shore community as well. So this is truly a development team that is conscious of not just the area that they are proposing to develop, but the city and county of Honolulu at large. So thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments? If we take a final vote on this resolution. Okay, since we don't have any further discussion, roll call vote, Mr. Clerk.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Elefante.
Aye.
Councilmember Fukunaga.
Aye.
Councilmember Kobayashi.
Aye.
Councilmember Manahan.
Aye.
Councilmember Martin.
Yes.
Councilmember Ozawa is excused. Councilmember Pine.
Aye.
Chairman Orr.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 8 ayes, 1 member is absent.
Okay, so Committee Report 344 and Resolution 17-221 CD1 have been adopted. Okay, for the appropriate motion and you already moved the other resolution, that's right. So we're now on Resolution 17-228 CD1. Do we have any testifiers on that particular resolution? Okay, since I don't see any testifiers coming forward, we're now in discussion. Any discussion on Resolution 17-228 CD1? Okay, there being no discussion, roll call vote, Mr. Clerk?
Councilmember Anderson.
Aye.
Councilmember Elefante.
Aye.
Councilmember Fukunaga.
Aye.
Councilmember Kobayashi.
Aye.
Councilmember Manahan. Aye. Councilmember Martin. Councilmember Ozawa is excused. Councilmember Pine.
Aye.
Chairman Orr.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 8 ayes, 1 member is absent.
Okay, so Committee Report 338 and Resolution 17-228 CD1 have been adopted. Let's proceed now to page 23 of the order of business. From the Committee on Transportation, Vice Chair Anderson.
Second. Move that Committee Report 342, Resolution 16-247 CD1 be adopted.
Okay, Councilman Manahan, you seconded already?
Sorry.
Okay, Councilman
Resolution
Anderson.
approves the Downtown Neighborhood Transit-Oriented Development Plan.
Okay, we have a motion to amend. Councilmember Fukunaga.
Thank you, Chair. I move to amend Resolution 16-247 CD1 to the hand-carried FD1.
Okay, moved and seconded. Please explain the proposed amendment.
The proposed FD1 makes amendments to the Exhibit A plan attached to Resolution 16-247 CD1, summarized as amending Figure 2.2-6 to increase the FAR from 1.9 and 3.5 to 7.5 for Palama Settlement properties, and second, to increase the FAR from 3.5 to 7.5 for Salvation Army properties, and it amends Figure 2-7 to increase the maximum building height from 150 feet and 300 feet to 400 feet for Palama Settlement properties. It also increases the maximum building height from 150 feet and 200 feet to 400 feet for Salvation Army properties, and makes miscellaneous technical and non-substantive amendments.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. We do have a number of registered speakers who have signed up to offer testimony. John Bennett. John Bennett, please come forward.
Chairman Orr and members of City Council, my name is John Bennett, Major with the Salvation Army. I've submitted written testimony, so I'm just summarizing. Salvation Army is a spiritually based social service agency serving the communities throughout the state of Hawaii with a variety of social services. In Hawaii in 2016, Salvation Army helped 81,000 persons, served 430,000 meals, provided lodging for 20,000 people, and provided over 5,000 people with drug and alcohol treatment and rehabilitation services. All of these services and more were provided at these 2 properties within the downtown TOD district. Passage of the proposed downtown TOD plan will enable the Salvation Army to redevelop its properties to improve the delivery of its services to the people of Hawaii. Thank you for this opportunity to testify.
Okay, any questions for the speaker? Okay, thank you very much. We also have Earl Fusato.
Good afternoon. My name is Earl Fusato. I'm the Executive Director for Palama Settlement, and we are in favor and supporting this amendment, Resolution 16-247, CD1. Palama Settlement has been in existing supporting the Kalihi Palama area for over 120 years. We support the community in many different ways, working with the youth of the community, working with the seniors in the area, working with, how should I say, adjudicated youths. We have an alternative schools for them. We have a gymnasium that provides a way to have sports there and a swimming pool. The reason why we're looking at this particular change in our zoning is we want flexibility. In order for us to look forward, we need to be looking at how can we replace our facilities. The buildings that we currently are working out of, some of them were built in 1925. Of those 3, 2 are in use and 1 is in disrepair. So we are looking for ways to increase our revenue base in order to support the either rebuilding and/or redevelopment of the property. We have about 6.5 acres on one and 1.9 acres on another. It's very unusual for a nonprofit to have property, but we look at it as a way to support the community going forward. The board does not have any desire to sell the property, so we will retain ownership. But we're looking at a way to increase the revenue base, really to support and benefit the community. We are so happy to be able to have worked with the council members. You don't know how much we appreciate all of the support that you have given us, and we want to express our gratitude and thank you.
Okay, any questions for the testifier? Thank you very much. Any other speaker, testifier, please come forward.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the council. I'm just here on behalf of the Hawaii Public Housing Authority to express our gratitude and appreciation. I know a lot of work has been put through what's in front of you. Specifically wanted to thank the council, the committees, and DPP for working hard to get what you have in front of you. This is going to bring a tremendous amount of added value to over 30,000 people that are waiting on my wait list, as well as the 40,000 tenants that we have. So we're very grateful, and we wanted to say thank you for voting, hopefully for voting yes for this measure, and let you go. It's the first time I beat the buzzer, by the way, so I'll just stay at this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the testifier? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, do we have any additional speakers who'd like to come forward to offer comments on Resolution 16-247 CD1? Okay, since we don't have any additional speakers, we can now proceed to discussion of this measure. Any discussion, members? Okay, since we don't have any discussion, okay, we can now proceed to take the vote on the proposed FD1. Are there any objections to amend to the proposed FD1? Okay, since there are no objections, are there any reservations? There are no reservations. Resolution 16-247 CD1 has been amended to an FD1. Are there any objections to waiving Council Rule 19.E? Okay, there are no objections. Are there any reservations? Noting no reservations, the 48-hour notice has been waived. We can now undertake a discussion with respect to the underlying measure. Any discussion on this particular resolution? Yes, Councilmember Manahan.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to speak in strong support, and again, for the, I wanted to thank Councilmember Fukunaga for working, for her help and working with this particular set of transit-oriented development plans, but also wanted to thank Salvation Army as well as Palama Settlement for their testimony today. And as you heard, you know, these properties are going to be beneficial to the community. So by giving them the zoning that they're requesting, we are actually providing more community benefits to both our districts for me and Councilmember Fukunaga. So just want to encourage again the members to support the measure. And thank you, Chair, for your support.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments on this particular resolution? Okay. And I commend Councilmembers Fukunaga and Manahan for all of the hard work that you've done in this plan, which has finally come to fruition, and which will definitely benefit the districts that you work hard, very hard to represent. So I commend you. All right, since we don't have any further discussion, Mr. Clerk, roll call vote.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Elefante.
Aye.
Councilmember Fukunaga.
Aye.
Councilmember Kobayashi.
Aye.
Councilmember Manahan.
Aye.
Councilmember Martin.
Yes.
Councilmember Ozawa is excused. Councilmember Pine.
Aye.
Chairman Orr.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, there are 8 ayes, 1 member is absent.
Okay, Committee Report 342 and Resolution 16-247 CD1 FD1 have been adopted. Colleagues, let's proceed to page 24, the balance of committee reports. Councilmember Anderson.
I move that the balance of committee reports be adopted.
Councilmember Pine. We're almost there. Second,
Oh, I
right?
seconded it.
Okay.
Resolution 17-227 accepts a gift to the city from Brenseed Company Limited to pay for the construction and installation of 2 park benches at the Ala Moana Beach Park. Resolution 17-229 renames the Waikiki Shell in honor of Tom Moffett. Resolution 17-244 establishes a permitted interaction group to investigate matters relating to fire safety in residential buildings. Resolution, I think that's it, Chair.
Brief recess. Yeah, I think we had to.
Skip a page.
Chair, yeah, for clarification, I think.
Yes, I'd like
I know
to
we
go
want to
back.
end this as quickly as possible.
I'd like to
but-
go back 1 page.
Right.
My apologies. Moving a little too quickly here.
I know, we're almost done. We're almost across the
Committee
finish line.
report 323 requests authorization to settle a case against the city and county of Honolulu entitled Darwin and Nadine Gu versus city and county of Honolulu et al. PWIS Committee report 329 is regarding a deed conveying roadway lot 19347, grant of drain easements 10521 and 10523, grant of flowage easement 10518, grant of flowage easements 10519 through 10523, and grant of sewer easement 10519, grant of sewer easement 10534.
Okay, thank you.
ZH Committee Report Bill 74, CD1, relates to the Transit-Oriented Development Special District, granting a 43-day extension of time. ZH Committee Report 331 pertains to Bill 75, CD1, relating to miscellaneous land use ordinance amendments, granting a 43-day extension of time. And ZH Committee Report 332 pertaining to Bill 76, CD1, is for a Waipahu rezone, granting a 43-day extension of time.
Okay, thank you very much, Vice Chair.
And then all of the other ones that I mentioned earlier.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, so, are there any testifiers who'd like to offer comments on the balance of committee reports? All right. Since we don't have any yes, Councilmember Elefante.
Whenever we move into are we in discussion, Chair?
We're into discussion.
Okay. My discussion will be for Bill 74, 2015, CD1. Bill 74 proposes amendments to the land use ordinance to create transit-oriented development special districts around 21 stations for the rail line. Earlier, I proposed amendments in Bill 74 to include the requirement of affordable housing in TOD, so that all projects proposing 10 or more residential units would have to provide at least 30% of their units as affordable, up to 120% of the AMI. While these amendments did not pass, the Department of Planning and Permitting would like the affordable housing requirements in Bill 58, 2017 to govern affordable housing in TOD, because this requirement will not be in the LUO and will be instead in a new standing alone ordinance in the Housing Code, Chair. I'd like to work with my colleagues, the Zoning and Housing Chair, along with you, Chairman Orr, who also represents the Waipahu area, so that we have an affordable housing requirement in place before Bill 74 passes final reading. If Bill 74 passes before Bill 58, there will not be a defined affordable housing requirement in any TOD development area. Bill 58 is currently at the same place as Bill 74, which means they could both pass out at next month's council meeting. And I know with the 43-day extension of time, that would bring us to about October 20th, October 21st would be the absolute deadline. And I think it's very important for all our communities to keep affordable housing as front and center as we write the underlying legislation, especially for TOD. I will support this recommendation for the extensions for Bill 74, 75, and 76 to expire next month. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments on the balance of committee reports? Okay, since we don't have any further discussion, any objections to the adoption of these committee reports? Okay, noting no objections, reservations. There are no reservations. The balance of committee reports has been adopted. Okay, there is no unfinished business. We now proceed to the few items under new business, and I believe Councilmember Anderson, you've already made the appropriate motions, right, for the adoption of all of those.
Yes.
And Councilmember Pine, I believe, seconded. I believe, and I think you've already explained all of those resolutions, correct? Is there any additional comments that you'd like to offer in explanation of those resos? Okay, so we can proceed to receive public testimony, all right, with respect to these particular resos. We have resolution, let's take them individually, take them up individually. Resolution 17-227. Any testimonies on resolution 17-227? Okay, since we don't have any testifiers or speakers coming forward, we can now proceed to discussion. Any discussion on resolution 17-227? Okay, brief recess. Okay, so let's, again, resolution 17-227. Any discussion? Okay, since we don't have any discussion, are there any objections to the resolution? Noting no objections, any reservations? Noting no reservations, resolution 17-227 has been adopted. We move on now to resolution 17-229. Okay. Any speakers on 17-229?
Good afternoon, Chair Menor and council members. I'm Michelle Nakota from the Department of Parks and Recreation. As for today, I'm representing the Department of Enterprise Services Director, Kalakukui, and I want to read his testimony on his behalf. Resolution 17-229 requests that the Waikiki Shell be renamed the Tom Muffet Waikiki Shell in honor of Tom Muffet and in recognition of his major contributions to Waikiki Shell and our community at large. The administration supports this resolution and agrees that renaming the Waikiki Shell for Mr. Moffett is well-deserved tribute to his landmark career spanning 6 decades and including groundbreaking shows by the likes of Elvis Presley, the Rolling Stones, and Jimi Hendrix, Michael Jackson, Elton John, and Frank Sinatra, and Bruno Mars. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the director? Okay, thank you, Director.
Thank you.
Do we have any other testifiers on resolution 17-229? Okay, since we don't have any additional speakers, we're now in discussion. Any discussion regarding this particular resolution? Okay, since we don't have any additional comments or discussion, we can now take the vote. Are there any objections to resolution 17-229? Noting no objections, are there any reservations? Noting no reservations, resolution 17-229 has been adopted. With respect to resolution 17-244, I need to note the fact that we have a motion to amend, okay? So the basic motion has already been made, but now we need to have a motion to amend. Councilmember Kobayashi.
Thank you. I move to further amend resolution 17-244 to the proposed FD1, and the FD1 adds council members Carol Fukunaga, Trevor Ozawa, and myself as members of the permitted interaction group.
Okay, Councilmember Fukunaga.
I second the motion.
Moved and seconded, and thank you for the explanation, Councilmember Kobayashi. Do we have any speakers that would like to offer comments or testimony on resolution 17-244 and the proposed FD1? Okay, since we don't have any testifiers, we can now proceed to discussion with respect to the proposed FD1. Chair, Councilmember Kobayashi.
Yes, I'd just like to say that Councilmember Joy Manahan, he has a very important recycling program in his district, but his constituents' concerns will certainly be presented at this group meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, any further discussion on this particular resolution? Okay, since we don't have any further discussion, are there any objections to the proposed FD? There are no objections. Any reservations? Noting no reservations, Resolution 17-244 has been amended to an FD1. Any objections to adopt? There are no objections. Are there any reservations? Noting no reservations, Resolution 17-244 FD1 has been adopted. There are no items for the Committee of the Whole executive session. Are there any announcements by council members? Yes, Council Member Pine.
Yes, I just want to thank you, Chair, as well as the staff and all council members for coming out to our district today. This truly has become the second city because of all of your hard work on the city council, as your work, or as many as work that you've done in the legislature. And I just want to especially thank the mayor for coming today. It's very important that he also show that this is the second city, and I appreciated his attendance. And you're all invited to my birthday party, whatever I'll do.
Oh, really? Where's it going to be?
I usually don't celebrate it anymore, so you're invited to not celebrating it. No.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Any other announcements? But I'm glad that we've been able to finish this council meeting at a reasonable hour. I think this is the shortest council meeting that I presided over so far. But this will give Councilmember Pine an opportunity to enjoy your birthday. Happy birthday again. And I think Councilmember Elefante has a plane to catch, I guess today, so that'll give you plenty of time to make sure that you make your plane reservation. But thank you, members, for your participation and assistance in helping us to complete today's council meeting in a very expeditious fashion. So unless there are any further announcements, thank you, have a great day, and meeting adjourned. All right.